In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to master reading and reciting the Quranic Arabic with proper tajweed less than 12 months. Even if you're a complete beginner, even if you're a person who doesn't know a single letter in Arabic, this is a full-length, in-depth Quranic Arabic course and it's completely free. So you're going to be able to learn how to read Arabic, how to understand the Quran, and of course how to memorize it if you want to take it to the next level. This method that I'm going to share with you, inshallah ta'ala, it transformed my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it allowed me to help hundreds of students at my local masjid, where they went from struggling with the basic Arabic letters to reciting the Quran beautifully, and alhamdulillah. As someone who graduated from Al-Azhar University in Egypt, which is a university that's well known, and I hold an ijazah, which is a recognized certification for mastery, and that gives me the permission to teach others how to recite the Quran and how to memorize it. I have spent years perfecting this knowledge that you're going to gain, inshallah ta'ala, today. Now I teach how to recite the Quran and how they can go from not knowing how to read Arabic, completely beginners, to be able to memorize the Quran. So this method that you're going to get, inshallah ta'ala, it did not change my life. It transformed other people's life. One of the students that we have is Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, he improved his Quranic recitation dramatically in just 3 months.
ذو ثو للذين أحسنوا الحسنى وزيادة ولا.
And another student, Muhammad, who went from not knowing a single Arabic letter and now being able to recite the Quran fluently.
وإذا سألك عبادي أني فإني قريب.
And also we have a sister, her name is Esma, a sister who went from not knowing how to connect 2 letters to each other, and now she's able to read 10 pages within a few minutes.
One and one. one. الذين يقولون ربنا إننا آمنا فاغفر لنا.
Based on my experience, most of the people who want to learn the Quranic Arabic, they make a critical mistake, which is they start with the most complex Arabic grammar or the language rules. This approach leaves them frustrated, overwhelmed, and further away from the main goal that was the Quran revealed for, which is having that connection. So this method that I'm going to share with you, it takes a different approach. We're just going to focus on the specific things that you need, which is you knowing how to read Arabic, how to recite fluently with proper tajweed, then later on memorizing it if you want to take it to the next level. So this information that I'm going to share with you, it's a free course and it has the power to transform your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his book, bringing you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and understanding what he wants from you as a Muslim. So what I want you to do is I want you to find a quiet place, grab a notebook and prepare to learn. This is going to be one of the longest videos that covers this topic, so I want you to make sure that you're getting the most from it. But before we dive in, I want you to know that this is a free course and this is just the beginning. So if you are serious about mastering the Quranic Arabic and you want to take your Quranic to the next level, what I want you to do is, inshallah ta'ala, is I want you to check out the first link in the description where you're going to find a community that will make sure that you have everything that you need in order for you to take this journey in the right way. And now let's begin this journey together. Master Arabic and tajweed, or tajweed within 12 months, and gain the ability of reciting the Quran as it was meant to be read. So before we start, there are crucial things that you need to learn before you start reciting the Quran or having the skill of reciting the Quran. So the first thing is the Arabic alphabet. So in Arabic, or the Arabic language, they have 28 letters. And each letter is unique in terms of sound and how it looks like. Okay? So mastering these letters is the fundamental. It is the foundation for reading and pronouncing Arabic correctly. So if you see this little picture that I have, if you count to these letters, it will turn out 29 letters, not 28. And the reason is because of this small letter, which is called Hamza. And it's pronounced by itself, the sound of the letter, it's A, but by itself is called Hamza. So automatically you will note that there is a name for the letter and there's a sound for the letter, which is a two different things from each other. So the letters, I'll read them: Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, Jim, Ha, Kha, Dal, Dhal, Ra, Zay, Sin, Shin, Sad, Dad, Ta, Dha, Ain, Ghain, Fa, Qaf, Kaf, Lam, Mim, Noon, Ha, Waw, Hamza, Ya. So these are the names of the letters, not the sound. So as a tip, practice these letters individually. So you have to practice each letter and you have to master how it looks like and how it sounds, just focusing on the unique sound of each letter. So that's the first thing. The second thing that you need to learn is the letters and their placement. In Arabic, each letter has at least 2 to 4 shapes that it changes based on the word or how it positions itself inside a word. In English, we only have, or the English language, they only have capital and small. So there is a capital and a small, right? But in Arabic, it's different. So this is another picture. As you can see over here, if I zoom in, alif has 3 shapes, right? So at the beginning of the word, that's how it looks like. Middle of the word, that's how alif looks like. And at the end of the word, that's how alif looks like. Okay? So same thing for ba. Ba has 3 shapes. So at the beginning of the word, this is how it looks like. Middle of the word, this is how it looks like. If I zoom in a little bit more, that's how it looks like. Ta has at least different shapes based on how it looks like inside the word. So as a person who's learning Arabic, for you to be able to read, you have to be able to identify which letter is what, right? So for example, if I'm saying Ahmad, Ahmad, so ha alif at the beginning of the word will be like this. I'm pronouncing ha. So ha, when it's at the beginning of the word, it looks like this, right? Because I'm not saying Ahmad. I'm not connecting alif to the ha. I'm pronouncing alif, then I'm pronouncing ha, right? So, and at the same time, you have to know that there are some letters that don't connect. That's the third thing that we're going to learn, inshallah ta'ala. So Ahmad is pronounced, or Ahmad is written in this way. Alif, this one, then the ha, this one, then the meme, what's in the middle, Ahmad, and the dal at the end of the word, which is the last one. So when you master this one, or this part, you will be able to put together words in Arabic. So as a tip, observe the shapes of the letters, how they connect to each other and how they disconnect from each other. Okay, so you have to know which letter is which. So if I say, for example, and Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, so you're going to be like, oh, Bismillah, I'm starting with a ba. So how does ba look like at the beginning of the word? Oh, okay, it looks like this, right? Then you're going to be like, how does sin look like in the middle of the word? You're going to be like, oh, this is how it looks like. Then meme, how does it look like at the end of the word? It'll be like this. So when you practice this, you'll be able to put together, or at least you'll be able to read together the letters, and from there you'll be able to shape, or you'll be able to say words in Arabic. So that's the second thing that you need to know for your ability of reciting the Quran properly. So the third thing that you need to learn is the letters that don't connect. Okay? So over here, if I go back to the second step, you know that each letter has multiple shapes based on how it looks like inside the word. But in these letters, there are some letters that don't connect, meaning it doesn't get connected from the back or from the front. In English, we don't have this. You just put the letters beside each other, right? So that's why when you open the Quran and you don't know how to read Arabic, you gotta notice that everything looks blend to each other, which is true. But each letter, or each letter, it connects to the other letter based on if it's able to be connected or not. Okay? So there are letters that don't connect. So what are these letters that don't connect? It is alif. It doesn't be connected from the back, but it gets connected from the front. Za, same thing. It doesn't get connected from the back, but from the front. So as you can see, that little line that I add to the letter, it tells you it only gets connected from that side. If I say front, it means from this side. In Arabic, we write Arabic from the right to the left. Okay, so this is my right. That's where I'm going to start reading, or that's where I'm going to start writing. But in English, it's the opposite. You write from the left to your right. Okay, so when I say from the front, meaning from your right side. When I say from the back, meaning from your left side. So as you can see over here, alif gets connected from the front, but not not the back. Okay, za, same thing. It gets connected from the front, not the back. Waw, same thing. Dal, same thing. Dal, same thing. Ra, same thing. So you have to learn these 6 letters and practice them and shape in words that have these letters. So for example, when I say bata'a, ba-ta-a, so that means the word ends with a or alif, right? So that means alif will be written like this, right? So when I say baraza, ba-ra-za, so that means the ba, it's connected to the ra, ra, which is the last one over here, and the za, it's not connected. Why? Because ra does not get connected from the back. Okay, so at the beginning it seems confusion. You're going to feel like you're overwhelmed, but through practice, inshallah ta'ala, you'll get familiar with it. So as a tip, you have to know what are the letters that get connected and what are the letters that don't get connected. So practice as much as possible, and it's only these 6 letters, but the other letters you'll be able to know, or you'll be able to identify that they're able to be connected from the front and the back. The fourth thing that you need to learn is similar written letters. Okay, so some Arabic letters look very similar in shapes, how they look like, right? Like when you're writing them, they look very similar, but they are different in the placement of the dots. Okay, so you understanding this difference, what's happening, where you put the dot, does it go on top of the letter, on the bottom of the letter, is it going to be with the dot or with not? This is a crucial part for you for avoiding the misreading words in Arabic, okay, especially the Quran. So over here, as you can see in this picture, ba and ta and tha, they look very similar in terms of the shape of the letter, but the only different thing between all three of them is the dots. So as you can see, ba has under the letter, ta has 2 dots on top of the letter, tha has 3 dots on top of the letter, right? So when you see these 3 letters, and by the way, at the beginning of the word, in the middle of the word, and at the end of the word, all 3 of them they look very similar. So the only thing that makes them, or the only thing that separates them in terms of shape, is the dots. So you have to be able to identify which letter is which. Same thing for kha and jim and ha. Kha has a dot on top of the letter, jim has in the middle of the letter, ha does have no dots. Dhal and dal, same thing. Now I repeat it over here if you get confused between dhal and dal. So dhal, the one that you use the tip of your tongue, is the one that has the dot. It's called dhal. Dal does have no dots. Seen and sheen, they look very similar in terms of shape. They look very similar, right? But the only thing that separates sheen from seen is the 3 dots. But you're gonna be like, but isn't that, does it have three dots? Yes, but over here is way different. Over here has three heads. So if I zoom in, you're gonna notice that sheen has 3 heads. That has 1 big head. Okay, so you have to be able to know these little details if you really want to master reading Arabic, right? Because if you pronounce a letter that's not there, the whole word will change. Will be something else. And Arabic is very sensitive language. The vowels, if you just change the vowels, everything will be in a different meaning. It comes with a different meaning. So sin and shin, they look very similar. The difference is only the dot. Swad and dad, same thing. Dad has a dot. Swad does have no dot. Ta and dha, same thing. The only thing that separates the dha from ta is that dot. Ayn and ghayn. Ghayn is different from ayn, it's because of that dot. Fa and qaf, they look very similar, but this one goes a little bit under. It looks like more like a cup, but still they look very similar, but the only thing that difference between them is the dots. The one has 2 dots and the other one has 1 dot. So you have to focus on these placements of the dots when you're reading, and you have to be able to understand the difference between similar looking letters. Okay, so that's the fourth thing that you need to know if you really want to master reading Arabic. Number 5 is the vowelization of al-fatha. So after learning the shape or the sound of the letter, how they actually look like based on the middle of the word, end of the word, and after learning what are the letters that actually connect and disconnect, then the next thing that comes is the vowelization. So in English, we don't have any vowelization. We don't have to know a thing that makes the letter with an a. It's just based on, you just read it automatically. You don't have to know fatha or kasra or dhamma. But in Arabic, we do. It's called the vowelizations, fatha and kasra and dhamma, and there's a shadda, there's a sukoon, there are a lot of them, but they're very easy to understand. So the first one is al-fatha. So fatha is a short sound that you make when you see on top of the letter. So the fatha goes on top of the letter. Okay, so how does it look like? So if you check over here in this small chart on that small picture, if you look at each letter, sorry about that. So if you look over here, you're gonna notice that it has a fatha, that little line on top of the letter. So we learned at the beginning, the first thing was knowing there's a difference between the sound of the letter and the name of the letter. So over here, this letter with no fatha is called alif. That's the name of the letter. But when it has fatha, it's called a. You make the short sound of a. So it's going to be a, ba, ta, tha, ja, ha, kha, da, dha, ra, za, sa, sha, sa, da, ta, dha, a, gha, fa, qa, ka, la, ma, na, ha, wa, ya. So making that sound is the thing that makes the fatha, or forces you to make the letter, or it makes you make that sound, which is the a sound. Okay, so the moment you see fatha on top of the letter, you're not going to say the name of the letter, you're going to say the sound of the letter. Okay, so practice. So as a tip, practice reading words with the fatha. Sa'ala, قاتل ضرب وقع. So the moment that you start practicing letters with fatha, that's when you're going to start understanding the sound of the fatha and what it does. Okay, so that was the fifth thing that you need to learn for your ability to read the Quran or recite the Quran as it was revealed. Number 6 is the vowelization of kasra. Okay, so first we learned fatha. Now we have kasra. And kasra is a short sound, which is E. Okay, E. And the moment you see kasra, and by the way, kasra goes under the letter. So as you can see over here, fatha is on top, kasra is on bottom. Okay, so as I said, there's a difference between the name of the letter and the sound of the letter. Okay, the sound comes based on what vowelization does it have. Okay, so if it's fatha, you're gonna say a. So if you see a sad with a fatha, you're gonna be like saw. If you see an sheen with a fatha, you're gonna say sha. But if you see a letter with a kasra, then you're gonna start pronouncing e. So over here, alif with no nothing is called alif. That's the name of the letter. But with a kasra, it's called e, b, t, fi, g, hi, khi, di, the, ri, zi, si, she, si, di, ti, the, I, ghi, fi, qi, ki, li, mi, ni, he, we, ye. Okay, so that's the sound of kasra. So you have to focus on that slight e if you see on the letter, on the bottom of the letter. Okay, so me, ni, we, he, ye. And for example, you're gonna be like wu, qi, a, du, ri, ba, fu, ti, ha. As you can see, ti, he, I'm pronouncing the kasra. Okay, so that was the sixth thing that you need to learn for you to be able to recite the Quran as it was revealed. In general, to read Arabic in general. But specifically in the Quran, that's why you see, if you open the Quran, that's why you're going to see fatha, kasra, dhamma, sukoon, shadda, all these different vowelizations that all the letters take. Okay, Number 7 is the vowelization of dhamma. So we started with fatha, which was that slight sound of a, adding to the letter. Then we took kasra, which is that slight sound of e, adding to the letter. Now we have dhamma, okay, which is the sound of u. Okay, so how does the dhamma look like? So if I zoom in a little bit, u looks like a wow. Okay, it looks like a wow, like this letter, but it goes on top of the letter. Okay, so when you see u, when you see that letter u or u, that sound, how does it look like? So it's gonna be u, bu, tu, thu, ju, hu, khu, du, dhu, ru, zu, su, shu, su, du, tu, dhu, ru, ghu, fu, qu, ku, lu, mu, nu, hu, wu, yu. So this is the sound of u when you add it to the letter. Okay? And a tip, or what should you do if you want to practice this, is pronouncing that sound, which is rounding your tip slightly. Okay? I'm not going to say like you're going to make it too roundy. You're just going to make it little, not that much. Because if you make it too much, then it will turn to something else. And what we're going to take inshallah ta'ala. But you have to make that little round of your lips. Then you have to practice letters that have dhamma. So for example, it will be and u, khi, the. So right now I already did all three of them. U, khi, the, nu, dhi, ra, fu, ti, ha, wu, ji, da. So as you can see, I'm practicing all three of them. And all three of these vowelizations are the foundation of reading Arabic from the beginning. Okay? So that's when you start practicing putting 2 letters, 3 letters, 4 letters together. And that's when you start shaping words with have actually meaning. Okay? So practice all 3 of them. And inshallah ta'ala, it will be more easy for you to identify which one is which, beside knowing the name of the letter and how they actually connect and how they actually disconnect. And then inshallah ta'ala, and we're going to take the number 8, which is the prolongation of alif. So the number 8 thing that you need to know, so you'll be able to recite the Quran as it was revealed, is the prolongation with alif, which is called madd bil alif. So the letter alif, okay, that's when you extend a little bit longer to the fatha, which is a, that's called madd bil alif, which is you're going to start a little bit longer. You're going to extend it a little bit longer, okay? Which creates that elongation of a, okay? So how does madd bil alif look like when it's connected to the letters in Arabic? So first over here, if I zoom in, you're going to see over here the alphabet letters. And as I said at the beginning, a letter by itself, that's the name of the letter and has a sound, which is alif, okay? Then we took how it actually changes throughout fatha and kasra and dhamma. Now we're going to take madd bil alif, adding an alif to it. So this one is a, but when you add another alif to it, it becomes a. You're going to extend, you're going to elongate with the a, extra double a, not just one a. Okay, so ba, same thing. Ba, ta, fa, ja, ha, kha, da, the, ra, za, sa, sha, sa, da, ta, va, gha, fa, qa, ka, la, ma, na, wa, ha, ya. So as you noticed, I'm extending a little bit longer, adding the letter a to the letter. Okay, so if I make it easy for you, madd bil alif is just extra fatha that you're adding to the letter. I'm not saying that you're going to add 2 fathas on top because that's something else, but just extending a little bit longer. So right now you notice controlling your voice or controlling how long you extend to the letter changes the meaning, right? So when I say right now, akhadha, it's way different than when I say akhadha. That has 2 different meanings. So for you to be able to control the extra a that you add to the letter will change the meaning, okay? So as I said, Arabic is very sensitive language. So for you to be able to recite the Quran as exactly as the scholars of Makkah do, you have to know these skills. You have to learn these skills, okay? So as a tip, notice the length, the difference between a, and practice, okay? So for example, it will be ضرب, قاتل, واحد, واجد, عارب. As you can see, I'm adding more to the alif that already has a fatha, okay? That's number 8. Number 9 is the prolongation with ya, which is called madd bil ya. It's very similar to the kasra. Same thing, you're going to extend a little bit longer on the e, okay? So the letter with ya after the kasra is called madd bil ya. You're just going to say e sound. So as you can see over here, we have e, b, t, fi, g, hi, di, ri, zi, si, shi, di, طي، ضي، عي، غي، في، قي، كي، لي، مي، ني، وي، هي، يي. Okay, as you can see, I'm extending longer on the kasra. So the letter already has a kasra, but I'm extending a little bit longer. Okay, it's exactly like the kasra, so you just have to extend it. So you have to identify that extra e that you add into the letter, and you have to practice words with the same thing. So for example, probably you know words that already have madd bil ya. So for example, it will be rahim. As you can see, rahim, I'm extending on the ha with the ya. ظالمين, ظالمين, me, as you can see that. So, and waladhalin, the da, it's over here. Where's the dal? So da, then lean, then just put nun at the end. So as you can see, controlling that sound will give you the skill of pronouncing perfectly. Okay, so that was the number 9. The number 10 is the prolongation with wow. which is explaining the wow, which is extending to the wow. Okay, so it is extra thing that you do after the dhamma. Okay, so we took fatha, kasra, and dhamma. Then we took mad bil alif, which looks very similar to the fatha. Mad bil ya, which looks very similar to the kasra. Then we're taking mad bil wa, which looks very similar to the dhamma. Okay, so it's that extra sound that you make, which is oo, not oo. Oo, it's with the dhamma. Oo is mad bil waw. Okay, so as you can see over here, we have alif with the dhamma, which is oo. If I put mad bil waw beside it, or if I add that waw beside it, it becomes oo, bu, tu, thu, ju, hu, khu, du, thu, ru, zu, su, shu, su, du, tu, vu, ru, fu, ku, lu, mu, nu, wu, hu, you. So as you can see, I'm extending longer on the wow, which is adding double oo to the letter. So as we took the fatha, the kasra, and dhamma, then we took mad bil alif, mad bil ya, and mad bil waw. Okay, so that was the 10th thing that you need to practice. For you to be having the ability of reciting the Quran as it was revealed. So the number 11 thing that you need to learn is the elongation letter in the Quranic script. Okay, so the elongation in the Quranic script, there's nothing special about it, but it's only special in terms of how is it written. Okay, and which is a part of the calligraphy of the Quran script. Okay, so it's the handwriting of the Quran. How is it written? Okay, so it's just the elongation mark in the Quranic indicates the extending sound, which is exactly what we took: mad bil alif, mad bil ya, mad bil waw. But how it looks like in the Quran, that's the only thing that makes it a little bit difficult to identify. So mad bil alif over here, alif elongation, this is how it looks like. So if I zoom in, so this word, so if you're a person that learned how to connect the letters, and it has the vowelation, which is the fatha or the kasra or the dhamma, you're going to be like maliki, right? Or you're going to be like sirata, or you're going to be like kataba, or you're going to be like hada, right? But over here, as you can see, there's a little one on between the meme and the lam. Okay, that little thing over there on top of that and after the meme and between the meme and the lam is called mad bil alif. That's it's the little mad bil alif, or the alif elongation. So instead of saying maliki, you're gonna be like maliki. So over here, instead of being sirata, it's gonna be sirata. So I want you to imagine it's gonna be a short alif. Okay, it's gonna be a tiny alif that they put inside the between the letters. Why is it like this? There's no reason. It's just the calligraphy of the Quran, how is it actually written, which is called the rasm al-Uthmani, the calligraphy of Uthmani. Okay, so maliki, sirata, kitaba, hada. Okay, this is how it looks like, the mad bil alif. Is it all the way like this all the time? No, it's only few words. It's not all the time like this. But for you to be able, when you're reading between the lines, for you to identify that little alif, it's a crucial thing. Because if you don't see that little alif, or you just skip it, the whole meaning of the sentence or the whole meaning of the word will change because you're not pronouncing that alif. That's mad bil alif. What about mad bil ya, which is the ya elongation? So over here you can see wasa, that little alif, hibatihi. As you can see, that little, I don't know what is it called. It's called mad bil ya. That's how it's what it's called, which is ya elongation. But what does it look like if I zoom in a little bit more? It looks like a mountain, right? It looks like a mountain, right? That little thing, it's mad bil ya. Okay, and you have to be like super focused to see it. Okay, so when you're reading a regular Quran, you won't see it because it looks like similar to the other vowels. Like it looks like it looks like fatha, kasra. You're gonna be like, probably it's just thing that separates between and the fatha or the two words. But in real life, it's ya. Okay, so you have to be super focused to see it. Okay, so this word is gonna be wasahibatihi wa banihi. Hasadihi wala. Okay, if you just say hasadih wala, that's wrong. That's wrong. You're skipping a whole letter. Okay, so this is how it looks like the ya elongation, which is called mad bil ya. Okay. Then the third one is mad bil waw, right? Mad bil waw, how does it look like? So over here, as you can see, ba'athahu, it's a small waw. It's very, very small waw compared to the other words. Okay, so you might don't see it unless if you're like, oh, there's a little waw. Like what is that waw doing there, right? So right now you know what it is. It is mad bil waw. Okay, so it's gonna be ba'athahu qala ونرثه ما يقول. You're not gonna say ونرثه ما يقول. You're gonna say ونرثه. As I said, you're gonna put that extra u beside the ha. Then you're gonna continue from there. Okay, so as a tip, I want you to look carefully. Like I want you to super carefully, like as much as you can, learn their symbols, how they look like, and identify them. Okay, and you already know what they are. So mad bil alif, it looks like this, a small alif. Mad bil ya looks like a small mountain, and the waw, mad bil waw, looks like a waw. So please, as much as you can, practice identifying them inside the kitab. So spend some time, open the Quran, and try to see which one is which. Okay, so that is the 11th thing that you need to know. The number 12 thing that you need to learn, so you will be able to recite the Quran as it was revealed, is tanween al-fathatain. Okay, so the tanween al-fathatain, it's actually two fatha, like this is fatha, right? Two fatha on top of each other. But those two fatha, they end at the end of the word, not in the middle of the word or beginning of the word. No, you're going to see it at the end of the word. Okay, so here, as you can see, it's a tanween with a double fatha, two fatha on top of each other. Like they're going to look like this. Like here's the letter, and this is how it looks like. And at the end of the word creates that sound of an. Okay, so if we like, there is a lot of languages they actually have this. Like when we say international, right? There's a nal at the end. That's tanween. And television, there's an n. So tanween itself, there's a lot of languages they actually use it, but it's very, very common and it's very, very useful in the Quran. You will use it a lot of time in the Quran. Okay, so over here, as you can see, this is how exactly as you can see it. It will be at the end over here beside the alif. Okay, it's gonna be, instead of saying alif, you're gonna say an, ben, because you're gonna add that an at the end of each letter that you're pronouncing. An, ben, ten, then, jan. You're not gonna say jan, because if you add that, you're extending too long. You have to be like an, ben, ten, then, jan, han, khan, den, then, run, zen, san, shan, son, dun, tun, dhun, an, ghan, fan, qan, kan, lan, man, nan, wan, han, yan. Okay, so you have to practice this sound. Okay, so in the Quran there is I'm pretty sure you're not gonna see 3 lines without this and without the fathatain. It's impossible. Like most of the time you will see them. Okay, so practice at the end of these sound and as much as you can. So examples, it will be ghafuran rahiman. Okay, and what another example? There's a lot in the Quran. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا, right? تَوَّابًا كَرِيمًا. There's a lot in the Quran. You're going to see a lot in the Quran. Okay, so as a tip, practice ending sound with an. Ending words that has tanween. At the end of the words that have tanween, which is al-fathatain. Okay, that's the tip and of tanween al-fathatain. The 13th thing that you need to learn, so you'll be able to recite the Quran as it was revealed, is tanween al-kasratain. Okay, which is very, very similar to tanween al-fathatain. Okay, which is this one. But the only different one is this one, it's under the letter. Instead of being on top of the letter, it will be under the letter. So probably going to be like, oh, right now I feel like I'm getting like how everything works. Like, right, you're going to be like, okay, since there is fatha goes on top of the letter by itself, there's one line. Then right now we're taking tanween kasrataini, it will be under. Then you'll be like tanween dhammataini, which is going to be 2 waws on top of the letter, which is right. Exactly, that's what we're going to take, inshallah ta'ala, the 14th thing that you need to learn, so you'll be able to recite the Quran. So tanween al-fatha al-kasrataini is a double kasrataini that goes under the letter that creates the sound in, okay, which is exactly this in sound. So this will be in, bin, tin, thin, jin, hin, khin, din, then, rin, zin, sin, shin, din, طن صن ضن طن ظن عن غن فن قن كن lin, min, nin, win, hin, yin. Okay? So as you notice, there's a nasal in that you're pronouncing. Okay? At the end of, when you see that kasra on each word or on each letter. So your job or your thing that you need to do is practice words that ends with this. Okay? So practice as much as possible tanween al-kasratain. As exactly as you're going to do the past 12 things that I mentioned. Okay? Number 14 is tanween al-dhammatain. Tanween al-dhammatain is very similar to the dhamma. But the only difference is you're going to put it on top of the letter exactly as you did with the dhamma. Okay? But this one, it's going to be double. Okay? Creating the sound of un. Okay? So over here is going to be un, bun, tun. So at the other one was an. This one is un, bun, fathatain. So as you notice, the tanween dhammataini and tanween al-fathatain are very close to each other in terms of pronouncing them. The other one was an. You start with the a, then you pronounce the nun. So if I go back over here, it's un, u, and n. The other one was a and n. So don't mix it up. Okay, so this one was an, ben, ten. This one is un, bun, tun. Okay, so let's do tanween and dhammataini and with the letters. So un, bun, tun, thun, jun, hun, khun, dun, dhun, run, zun, sun, shun, sun, dun, tun, dhun, un, ghun, fun, qun, kun, lun, mun, nun, wun, hun, yun. Okay? It seems very complicated, but inshallah ta'ala, with practice, I promise you, it will be very easy. Okay? So in the Quran, there are two shapes of tanween al-dhammatain. Okay? So the first one is this one, which is the regular one that you see over here. If I zoom in over here, which is that little, if I zoom more, which is that little wow that has that little extra tail. Okay? Or you're going to see that little wow with a cup on top of it, or a bridge on top of it. Okay? Which is similar to this one over here, as you can see over here. That little wow on top over there. Okay? And the reason I'm sharing this with you is, so when you're reading the Quran, you probably won't come across this one for a moment, or you will see this first, you're going to be like, so over here, if I want to read this word, which is الَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ وُجُوهُهُمْ مُسْوَدَّةٌ. You're going to be like, isn't it muswaddu? Muswaddatu? No, it's muswaddatun. That's the pronunciation of the word. Okay, muswaddatun, because it's dhammataini. Okay, and the other one is this one, which is double wow. So you're going to see double dhamma on top of each other. Okay, so these are the type, the how they look like inside the Quranic script. Okay, so if you come across this one, remember that's dhammataini. And if you come across this one, that's dhammataini. And if you come across this one, the one that has that little tail, looks like this one. But the most used ones in the Quran are these two. Okay, so these are the dhammataini and tanween al-dhammataini. So I want you to emphasize as much as possible the sound of un, rounding your mouth, and practicing as much as possible. Because the only way that you're going to succeed in reading the Quran as it was revealed is practice. There's nothing else that will make you better. I can share with you all this information and you'll be able to explain it, but if you're not practicing, then that means you just fill your brain with information that you don't know how to use. Okay, so that was the 14th thing that you need to learn. So right now we learned the Arabic letters, how much they are, what are the letters, and so the first is the Arabic letters and their names. Then we talked about what are the letters that actually don't connect, like what are the letters, do they actually connect from the beginning to the back. Then we learned the shapes of the letters, like how they actually look like inside the beginning of the word, the middle of the word, at the end of the word. So we can shape words like these, right? So the kaf at the beginning, this is how it looks like when it's connected to the dal. The dal doesn't connect to the back, as that is one of the letters of the 6 letters that I mentioned that doesn't connect from the back. And as I mentioned, right? So then we learned the fatha, which is the sound of a, then the kasra, which is i, then the dhamma, which is u. Then we talked about al-fatha and mad bil alif, which is a, extending longer, mad bil ya, i, mad bil waw, u. Then we talked about right now fathataini, and which is tanween al-fathataini, when you see two fatha on top of each other, which is an. Then we took in, kasrataini. Then we took right now un. Okay, the 15th thing that you need to learn, and for your ability to recite the Quran as it was revealed, is as-sukun. Okay, and the sukun is simple. It's a sample that indicates in the sound of pronouncing the sound of the letter when you stop on it. Okay, so the best way that I can actually explain it is pronounce it. That's the only way you'll be able to understand it. Like what I just wrote down is something that you can use, but it doesn't give you the full meaning of sukoon. So if I zoom in right now, so these are the letters of tanween. Okay, so over here is ta, and if, as you can see, there's a little circle on top of the ba over here, that little circle. Okay, it looks like O. Okay, so that's the sukoon. Okay, that's the sukoon. Okay, so how does sukoon actually pronounce? Like, how does it actually look like when you're pronouncing it? So when you pronounce the sukoon is you stop on the letter. Okay, so anytime that you pronounce any letter, or you pronounce a word, or anytime that you speak, you use airflow to push out those letters, how they actually and sound, right? Which is, subhanAllah, it's a blessing thing. Imagine not being able to say something or not having this air so we can hear from each other, right? So I'm pretty sure if we go to the space, we're not able to hear each other because there's no any flow, there's no any air, right? So that the words can travel through, and at the same time you're not be able to inhale air so you can pronounce words, subhanAllah, which is like it's one of the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us, and which is like inhaling air and using that air to pronounce letters. So sukoon is stopping on the letter. So the moment that you see sukoon, the moment that you see sukoon is you stop on the letter. So over here is tu, ti, tu, tab, tib, tub, tat, tit, tut. As you can see, I'm stopping at the last letter that has a sukoon. Okay, so over here is going to be teth, tith, tuth, tej, tij, tuj. I'm stopping on the letter and releasing. Okay, so that's a sound which is no vowel following it. Okay, you just stop on the letter and just let it go. Okay, but you're not gonna, like, when you're reading the Quran, you're not gonna be like you're not gonna make that sound. It just happens naturally the moment that you start practicing more and more. Okay, so tej, tij, tuj, tah, tih, tuh, takh, tikh, tukh, tad, tid, tud, tad, tid, tud, tar, tir, tur, taz, tiz, tuz, tas, tis, tus, tash, tish, tush, tos, tis, tus, tad, tid, tud. And the best way, and this is a side note, the best way to identify how the letters actually sound is putting sukoon on top of it. Right? So when I say tad, tid, tud, what I'm doing is I'm pronouncing the letter more apparently. I'm pronouncing the letter more clearly. Okay? So the moment that you want to identify Arabic letter is just putting sukoon on top of it. Okay? Of course, following it with a letter, because you cannot just pronounce a letter with no vowel, with no any vowel following it, right? So tad, tid, tud, tat, tit, tut, tad, tid, tud. Over here, the reason it isn't over here is it's hard to pronounce, so I didn't put it over here, but in general, you get the picture, which is stopping on the letter. Okay? Ta, ti, tu, tag, tig, tug, taf, tif, tuf, tak, tik, tuk, tak, tik, tuk, tal, til, tul, tam, tim, tum, tan, tin, tun, tu, ti, tu. The reason over here is because you will not be able to pronounce dhamma and ta with dhamma and following with the sukoon, because it will just be pure ta with dhamma. Ta, ti, tu, tay, ti. Over here, same thing. You're not going to be able to pronounce it because you're just going to pronounce t. It's exactly as it was. And toy, toy. Okay? So this is the sukoon. Okay? And the only thing is practicing as much as possible, which is practicing stopping on the letter with the sukoon to perfect it clarity. Okay? The only way is practicing. Okay? So that was the 15th thing that you need to know. So if you're able to recite the Quran with proper tajweed, and of course tajweed comes after, but at least practicing as much as possible so you can build up that skill of pronouncing the letters correctly. And the number 16 that you need to know is ashadda. Okay? Shadda is just doubling the letter. Okay? So shadda is a symbol showing a double the letter. Okay? And you just can emphasize the sound of the letter. Okay? So for example, and it will be something like this. So if, as you can see in this picture, it will be, and when there's a shadda, it's going to be, and so over here, if I zoom in, let me zoom in, yeah, that will be more better. So over here, and it's wa-fa, right? Wa-fa. There's waw and fa with a sukoon and a fatha. The shadda looks like this, which is a double W. It looks like a W followed by the vowel that you're going to pronounce. Okay? So you're actually pronouncing the letter twice. So what I mean by twice, so I want you to listen carefully, because this is very important. So when you read in the Quran, so you'll be able to be like, oh, okay, I understand what it means. So when I say a letter with shadda, shadda is just pronouncing the letter double. Okay? And the double, the second letter is the vowel that you follow it, or the vowel that you give it. Okay? So over here, as you can see, there's 3 letters. But over here, it's only 2 letters. Why? Because this one is shadda. It gives you the translation, or it tells you that when you're saying wafa, you're actually pronouncing 2 fa. You're not pronouncing 1 fa. The first one is a sukoon, because you said waf, you stop on the fa. Then you said fa. Wafa. You said waf, then you said fa. Wafa. That means you pronounced the fa, you stopped on it, then you gave the vowel, which is the fatha. So over here, the moment that you see the shadda, you're going to be like, oh, there's 2 fa over here, which is the first one is sukoon, and the second one is based on what you put on top of the shadda. It could be fatha, kasra, and dhamma. Okay? So it's going to be wafa. Over here, same thing. So over here is going to be haqqa. Haqqa. So as you can see, there's a little W and there's a fatha on top of it. Haqqa. 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 You're pronouncing haqq. You stopped on the qaf, then you said qa. Haqqa. That's why it's called doubled letter. Because the first one is a shadda. The first one is a sukoon, sorry. You stopping on it, and the next one you're giving it based on what you follow the shadda with. If it was a kasra, it will be kasra. If it's a fatha, it will be fatha. If it's dhamma, it will be dhamma. So here it could be haqqi, then the shadda and the kasra will be under the qaf. If it was a dhamma, it will be haqqu. Okay, it will be haqq. The sukoon will still be there, but the fatha or kasra or dhamma will be followed by that. Okay, so the shadda is very, very tricky. It's very, very tricky. And all the students that I have teaching the past 12 years that I've teaching, most of them, they struggle with, at least for the first, let's say from week 5 to 6, they struggle with and they struggle with shadda and sukoon, because it's like, I understand it, but like when I'm implementing it, it's difficult, but it gets easier the moment that you practice. So just emphasize the qa. Remember that there's 2 qa. You're not pronouncing 1 qa. Okay, so you're gonna be like haqqa, haqqi if it's a kasra, haqq. Same thing over here. If I say da'a, da'a, the moment I put a shadda on top of the ayn, I'm pronouncing 2 ayn, which is the first one is you stopping on it, and the second one is the fatha, which is da'a. So over here, same thing. Da'an, da'a. So da'a, da'a. Alright? Khassa, khassa. So khassa, khassa. It's exactly the same, because you're pronouncing over here to sad. Okay? So that was the 16th thing that you need to learn, which is the shadda. The 17th thing that you need to learn is lam ash-shamsiyya. Okay, so lam shamsiyya is very simple to understand, which is any alif lam that you see in the Quran. So alif lam, they use it to identifying the nouns. Okay, they identify the noun and the nouns. So here, as you can see, the lam shamsiyya is a silent, the lam qamariyya is pronounced, the effect of the pronunciation of the identified nouns, to identify the nouns. So when I say the sun, is there any other sun that we know? It's only one sun, right? Of course, there are different suns inside the galaxy, but there's only one sun, right? One sun. When I say the ocean or the beach or whatever, the moment I put the, I identify it. I like the person that I'm speaking with will know which one that I'm talking about. It doesn't mean the other third person, a third party that we're talking in front of him will understand what we're talking about. But the moment I say the boy, are you going to be like, oh, I know what he means. He means the boy that whatever happened, right? Or when I say the guy or the woman, or when I say the school, or when I say the pen or the pencil, the moment I put that, I'm identifying it. Okay, so that's in Arabic, they use it for identifying it. But anytime that you see al in the Quran, it's only 2 types of al. Okay, the first one is called lam ash-shamsiyya. Ash-shamsiyya. Okay, ash-shamsiyya. And ash-shamsiyya in Arabic means the sun. Ash-shams. Okay, ash-shamsiyya. And the second lam is lam al-qamariyya. Okay, lam al-qamariyya. And you might be asking, why do they call it lam ash-shamsiyya and lam al-qamariyya? The reason they call it lam ash-shamsiyya is because of the word ash-shams. As you can see over here, when I said the lam ash-shamsiyya is silent. So the lam, when I say ash-shamsiyya, there's actually lam and alif. So there's going to be lam and alif. So another example over here. Just forget about the word ash-shamsiyya, but let's use example that you can see. So when I say al-insan, the lam over here is pronounced al-insan. insan. But when I say an-nahar, did I pronounce the lam? No, I didn't pronounce the lam. Why? Because the lam is silent. An-nahar. But when I say al-insan, so as you can see, there's an alif lam. But over here, there's an alif lam, but I'm not pronouncing the lam. Okay? So that's why this word is silent. So they took two famous words that we know, which is ash-shams. Everybody can remember the word shams. And when I say ash-shams, there's a lam, alif lam, but I'm not pronouncing the lam. They're like, let's name it that, so it's easy to remember. And the opposite is lam al-qamariyah, which is al-qamariyah. So anytime that you open the Quran, that you hear or that you see alif lam, okay, which is like similar to this one, or to this one, or to this one. Forget about the waw, but alif lam and alif lam. Remember, there's only two. Okay, there's only two type. There's no any third. There's only two type. So the moment you see that, remember either it's lam shamsiyah or either it's lam qamariyah. So when you open the Quran and you start saying أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم من الشيطان. So which one is ash-shaytan? Because alif lam is there. Ash-shaytan. You're gonna be like lam ash-shamsiyah because I'm not pronouncing the lam. Then you're correct. Okay. الشيطان الرجيم الرجيم. Did I pronounce the lam? No, it's lam shamsiyah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. If I said الرحيم الرحمن الرحيم, did I pronounce the al? No. الحمد لله رب العالمين. When I say الحمد, did I pronounce the lam? Yes, then it's lam qamariyah. الرحمن الرحيم. Did I pronounce the lam in both words? No, then it's lam shamsiyah. مالك يوم الدين. Did I pronounce the lam? الدين? No, then it's lam shamsiyah. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. Then you continue looking for lam shamsiyah or lam qamariyah. Okay? So another example. ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب. ذلك. Did I pronounce the alif and lam? Yes, then it's lam qamariyah. Okay? So lam shamsiyah and lam qamariyah are very easy to understand, but you have to remember which one is which. Okay? So it will help you to read the Quran smoothly. Okay? So this was the 17th thing that you need to know in terms of you to be able to recite the Quran fluently and smoothly as it was revealed. Now that you understand these fundamental reading principles, you're probably thinking about how to stay consistent with these principles. One of the most things that I noticed that after me coaching hundreds and teaching hundreds of students, that the biggest challenge that they face isn't understanding the concept. It's maintaining regular practice and staying motivated when they hit that plateau. So this is exactly why I created Z Zone, which is a place, a community where you're going to be able to grow with other students. Either they can be advanced than you or they can be less advanced, but the main goal from it is that you're gonna find other people. Your environment plays a big role in terms of who you're gonna become. So you're gonna find other people who are professionals that you're gonna be able to grow with. You're gonna be able to practice with them. You're gonna be able to ask questions, and the most important thing is that we're gonna keep you accountable. There are teachers and coaches inside the community that you're gonna find, inshallah ta'ala, will guide you in the right path. So as I said, check out the first link inside the description. Check out C, inshallah ta'ala, and I hope that I'll see you inside. So after you learned how to read Arabic, or specifically how to read the Quran, putting the letters together and giving them the vowelization, giving them and the vowels, fatha, kasra, dhamma, shadda, sukun, then the second step or the second major step that you need to take is learning Tajweed. So in this section, inshallah ta'ala, in this next section, we're going to learn, or we're going to cover the main points that you need to know of implementing in the Tajweed. Okay, so these are the main pillars. Of course, they are more extremely detailed, but for the time, we cannot cover everything in Tajweed, but we're going to cover the main points that you should know. So the first thing is Makharij al-Huruf. Makharij al-Huruf is the first pillar that you need to learn in Tajweed, which is where does the letters actually articulate from, which is called points of articulations. So under that, there is subcategories. So there are two types. So there is a jawf, which is the oral cavity, okay, articulates from the empty space. So inside of you, if you ever saw the anatomy and the picture, you will notice that there is an empty space between your nose to your mouth. So that's called jawf, okay. It's empty space inside of our mouth, like inside of our mouth between our nose and our tongue, that empty space. So it's where you articulate some of the letters, okay. And the second one is al-halq, which is the throat. So automatically you understand that the letters, they're either articulated from the jawf or the halq. So all the letters, they only come from those, or these two places. Okay, so no one actually pronounces letters from the stomach or from the lungs, right? You only from the throat up to your mouth and that empty space, which is called oral cavity. Okay, so the halq is the throat, and the throat is divided in three types. Okay, so here is aqsa al-halq, which is the deepest part of the throat. Okay, and there are specifically two letters that actually articulate from there, which is kha and ghain. So if you see halq, aqsa al-halq, okay, over here, you're gonna notice that not the bottom over here, I'm talking about the top. Aqsa al-halq is okay, so that's aqsa al-halq. Okay, then there's gonna be wasat al-halq, which is the middle part of the throat, and there is two letters that articulate from there, which is ayn and ha. Ayn and ha. So if you touch your middle throat, or if you put your finger over there, you're gonna notice that's where you articulate ayn and ha. Ayn and ha. Then the last part is adna al-halq, which is the lowest part over here at the bottom over here before your lungs. Over here, it's called adna al-halq. So over here you pronounce ha and hamza. Ha and hamza. Okay? So the makharij al-huruf, either it's jawf or either it's halq. And the halq is separated or divided into three parts. Aqsa al-halq, wasat al-halq, adna al-halq. Deepest part of the throat, which is the top over here behind your tongue, then the middle, which is middle of your throat, then the bottom. Okay, and we already covered the letters that are articulated from there. Then we have al-lisan, the tongue. Okay, and the tongue actually is divided into four categories or four parts. Back of the tongue, which is the back, way back of the tongue. Then the middle of the tongue. So if your tongue is like this, right? Everybody, their tongue is actually looks like this. It's very like this. So the back of the tongue is over here. Okay. So your tongue goes up, or if you can flip it out, yeah, your tongue goes up and down, right? That's how we speak. That's how you control your tongue, right? So over here, you pronounce qa and ka. Qa, ka. So try to close your eyes and try to pronounce qa, ka. You'll notice that you're using the lowest part or the back of your tongue to pronounce these letters. Okay, of course, with the controlling of the air. Then you have the middle of the tongue, right? That's where you middle of your tongue, and you pronounce jim and sheen and ya. Okay. Then we have the edge of the tongue. That's how you pronounce dad. Okay, so dad, you use while controlling the air, and you use side of your tongues to make that sound. Dad, dad. Okay, and the last part is the tip of your tongue. That's where you pronounce lam, noon, ra. Okay, so you have to know that that's how your tongue is actually pronouncing some of the Arabic letters. Okay, then we have ash-shafatain. Okay, ash-shafatain. Shafatain is the lips. So in English we have P, B, right? So these are some of the lips letters that you use to pronounce, right? But in Arabic we have four letters, which is ba, mim, waw, fa. Okay, ba, without the lip you cannot. Try to pronounce ba without using your lips. It's impossible. You can't, right? Or at least if you're gonna pronounce it wrongly. Same thing with mim, waw, and fa. Okay. Then we have the last part. We have al-khayshum. Okay, which is the nasal cavity. Okay, the nasal cavity, which is that little humming is called ghunna. Okay, that's where you perform the ghunna. Okay, وأنزل الله عليك الكتاب والحكمة you perform it inside of your nose or inside of your nasal cavity. Okay, so that's the first pillar that you need to know in Tajweed, which is makharij al-huruf, which is the articulation points. So if I ask you what are the articulation points, automatically I want you to remember these and subcategories, which is jawf, halq. Okay, these are the only two parts. No one pronounce letters inside of their stomach or with their shoulders or back of your neck. We'll use these two, and each one they have and divided categories. Okay, so that's makharij al-huruf. The second pillar that you need to learn to make sure your Tajweed is on point is sifat al-huruf. Sifat al-huruf is the characteristics of the letters. Okay, the characteristics of the letters. And under sifat al-huruf there are two categories or two subcategories, which is sifatul lazima, permanent characteristics. That means it doesn't change, is there. So these characteristics that we're going to cover inshallah in this part, they don't change in the letter. They're going to be like that forever. Okay, they don't change. Okay, and sifatun arida, temporary characteristics. Okay, so they come and go. Okay, meaning either it will have it for a point and other time it won't have it. So sifatul lazima is hams, whisper. Okay, it's a soft airflow that you make when you're pronouncing fa, 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 ha, ha, fa, fa. So it's permanent for these letters. Okay, it's permanent for these letters, meaning it doesn't change. It doesn't change at all. Then we have al-jahr. Al-jahr is making an audible. It's making more clear. Okay, it's the opposite of whispering, which is al-hams. Okay, it's the opposite of whispering. Okay, and then after we have isti'la, elevation, which is heavy sounds, creating and tafkhim. Then we have istifal, which is lowering, the opposite of elevation. Then we have qalqala, which is echo, and these are qutb jad. So these are the letters that you make echo. For example, for qalqala, it's very common in the Quran. So, and it will be in, for example, وَالسَّمَاءِ وَالطَّارِقِ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الطَّارِقُ. Do you see that? Do you hear that qa that I'm pronouncing more echoey? That's the qalqala. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقَ وَمِنْ شَرِّ غَاسِقٍ إِذَا وَقَبَ. As you can see, it's in these 5 letters. Okay, so qaf, ta, ba, jim, and dal. That's when you perform the qalqala. Doesn't mean anytime that you see these letters you perform qalqala, of course not. But inshallah ta'ala, that's in more detailed things that you need to know in terms of making your tajweed on point. Then we have shadda, which is strength. Okay, so we have ta and alif. Okay, these are strong letters, alif and ta. Then we have rikhwa, which is the opposite, which is softness. It's not the same softness of this one, because this one was whispering. This one is more soft letters. Okay. Then we have bain. Bain between, it's moderation, so it's balanced sound. So it's not either too soft or it's not too heavy. It's not too elevated. It's not too lowering. It's just moderation. Okay. So these are the sifat al-lazima. These are the sifat that always come with the letters, or either the letter has one of these, or it can have 2, but it's usually they have these letters. Okay. Then we have sifatun arida. Sifatun arida is temporary. It's something that comes, but it doesn't continue with the letter. It's not something that you do when you're pronouncing the letter, which are 2 things, which is tafkhim, heaviness. You make the letter more heaviness, right? Like for example, an example will be maryam. The ra, mar, it's heavy. Compared to when I say mudhakkir, the ra at the end, r is soft. So you automatically know, you're gonna be like, oh, so the ra could be either mufakham, meaning it could be heavy in certain letters, or it could be heavy in certain spots, and when we're pronouncing it, and at the same time it could be tarqiq, muraqqaq, meaning it could be soft. Okay, so inside all the Arabic letters, there are some letters that can actually take tafkhim and tarqiq, and some others cannot. Okay, so these are the 2 things that you need to know in terms of the characteristics of the letters. So this will teach you when to make the letter heavy and when to make it soft, when to make your voice, when you pronounce the letter and appear more or make it more clear that you're not gonna whisper, and when you should whisper. One is the letter heavy in terms of like when you're pronouncing it, and one is not heavy. Okay, so you will learn all these things inshallah ta'ala with more examples, and the more you take more examples from the Quran. But over here we cannot cover all of these with examples because it's going to take more longer time. So this is the second pillar that you need to learn for you to be able to practice tajweed and the way it was meant. Okay, then the third pillar is Noon as-Sakina and Tanween. Okay, Noon as-Sakina and Tanween. So Noon as-Sakina, it means anytime that you see Noon Sakina, meaning Noon that has a sukoon. When it comes after things, when some letters come after it, there are going to be some rules that you're going to apply. Okay, so for example, when I say man amana, man, as you can see, the Noon has a sukoon. Man, I stopped on the sukoon. Amana, then I pronounce a. That's a rule. When I say man, and another example, man ja, for example, man ja, that's a rule. Okay, so there are actually 3 rules that you need to know in this category. So first is idhar. It's clear pronunciation. Applied when there's a noon sakina and these letters that come after it. So when I say man haraba, man and ha, you're gonna make the ha clear. You're not gonna say man ha, you're not gonna do that. You're gonna make it clear. So it's gonna be man haraba, man khafa, man khafa. The kha is clear. Okay, man and man with a ain, man an'amta, for example, an'amta. There's no second, there's ain, an'amta. من غارة, for example. من آمن with hamza. منهار, okay? منهار, for example, that's another example. So these are the letters that when there's nun sakina that comes before it, and then these letters follow after it, that's when idhar comes. And idhar means clear pronunciation. Okay, that's the first one. The second one is tafkhim. Tafkhim is magnifying the letter or making it a little bit and bigger. And ikhfa. Sorry, my bad. So the first one is idhar, the second one is ikhfa. Sorry. Ikhfa is concealed pronunciation. So ikhfa is something that's between idhar, you're gonna make the letter appear, and at the same time you're making that little nasalization that we talked about. Okay, so it applies when it's followed by these 15 specific letters. Okay, so they are 15. For example, Seen is one of them, Sheen, Sad, Dad, Ta. Okay, and the reason I cannot give you examples is gonna be more longer. And the third one is idgham. Idgham is merging. So you're merging two letters together. Okay, and same thing when tanween comes after. So it's not just gonna be nun sakina, and if they follow after the tanween too. Okay, so when you see tanween that comes before a ha, that's going to be idhar. When you see tanween that follows by a kha, that's going to be idhar. When you see tanween that comes and before an ayn, that's going to be idhar. When a tanween comes before a ghain, that's going to be idhar. Same thing. So there's nun sakina and tanween. That's why it's called nun sakina and tanween. أحكام النون الساكنة والتنوين. Then we have idgham. Okay, we have idgham. So idgham is merging. You're merging two letters together. Okay, you're gonna merge two letters together, and it has three types. Okay, idgham bighunna, meaning you're making idgham with nasalization. Okay, and idgham bila ghunna, and idgham without a nasal and sound. Okay, so which is, for example, and when a meme sakina and ya come after each other, you're gonna make that little humming. Same thing with the nun. Same thing when it follows by meme. Same thing when it follows by wow. Okay, and the reason, as I said, I cannot give you examples because it's gonna be way longer. And the second type is idgham bila ghunna, meaning you're gonna do that little, and as we mentioned, you're gonna do that merging, but at the same time you're not gonna do that nasalization. Okay, which is when they come after lam, before lam and ra. Okay, so when there's nun sakina or tanween, when they come before lam and ra, you're gonna do that merging, but you're not gonna do that nasalization, or you're not gonna do that idgham. Then we have iqlab. Okay, iqlab is it's nun sakina that comes and before a ba, before the ba. So when nun sakina is followed by a ba, okay, anytime that you do that, you're not gonna pronounce pure ba, but you're gonna pronounce mim ba, mim ba, mim ba, mim ba. Okay, when there's a nun sakina that's followed, you're gonna pronounce something called mim. You're not gonna pronounce nun. Okay, and you're not gonna say min ba. You're gonna say mim ba. You're not gonna pronounce the nun. And the same thing with extremely detailed examples, that's when it becomes more clear. But here right now, I just want you to know what are the things that you need to be, and the things that you need to be aware of in terms of you be able to recite the Quran with proper tajweed. That's the third pillar. The fourth pillar is mim sakina rule. Okay, mim sakina rule. So the first one was nun sakina and tanween rule. When they're followed by these letters, what happens? What are they called? Then over here we have mim sakina rule. So right now, before it was nun sakina, this one is mim sakina. Okay, so mim sakina, under it there is ikhfa shafawi. So there's gonna be partial hitting. So you're not gonna do full hitting, but you're gonna do a little slight hitting. Okay, and it's applied when mim is followed by ba. Okay, when mim is followed by ba. The second one is idgham shafawi. So you're gonna do, so all these things are idgham and ikhfa that happens with your mouth. But in terms of rule, it doesn't happen to the letter. You just do it with your mouth. Okay. Then we have idhar shafawi, which is clear pronunciation and applies when mim is followed by any other letter. So there's ikhfa shafawi, okay, and it's way different than the regular ikhfa. So the word ikhfa, it's a rule, like you can literally see it, but over here you're gonna do it with your shafawi. The shafawi in Arabic means mouth, so you're gonna practice the ikhfa in terms of your mouth only. Okay, same thing with the idgham, same thing with the idhar. Okay, so ikhfa shafawi, it's applied when mim is followed by a ba, and idgham is shafawi happens when it's mim is followed by a mim. Okay, then izhar shafawi, and it's gonna be when mim is followed by other letters from the Arabic letters, except these two. Okay, so that was the fourth pillar. The fifth pillar is qalqala. Okay, and we already covered this a little bit, which is the letters of qalqala, which was qutb jad, qa, ta, ba, jim, dal. Okay, and so there are three types that goes under in the qalqala. Okay, so there is qalqala kubra, which is the strong qalqala or the strong echo. Then we have qalqala sughra. There is an echo, and we can say, we're not gonna say weak qalqala, but we're gonna make it like the shortest echo that happens. Okay. Then we have the third one, which is qalqala mutawassita, which is the and moderation qalqala. Okay, moderated and qalqala. So what is the difference between all three of them? So at the end of the word, with a sukoon and stop on the example of haqq. Okay, haqq. Okay, that's when you perform the stronger qalqala. The sughra qalqala happens within a word, not at the end. So for example, it will be, and so this one, it happens when it's when the five letters, when they end with when these five letters end with a word. Okay, haqq, tariq, and when we say in waqab. But when it's in the middle, then the echo is not going to be very heavy. Okay, it's not going to be very. It's going to be weak echo. So for example, it will be qab, qabl. It's in the middle, so it's going to be a little bit less echoey than the first one. Then the next one is, or the third one is qalqala mutawassita, which is moderated echo in the middle of the word, but with a sukoon. Same thing, qabl. When you put a sukoon on when the letter, these five letters, either jim, ta, when it is qaf, ta, ba, jim, dal, these five letters that we mentioned, qut, mujad, when they follow in the middle of the word, when they're in the middle of the word, not at the end of the word, and when they have sukoon, then it becomes qalqala mutawassita. So it's something that's moderated. It's not going to be very heavy. Okay, so this is the fifth pillar that you need to know in terms of you to be able to recite the Quran with proper tajweed. Okay, so the sixth pillar that you need to know is med, and this one is a big one, because the thing that separates and Arabic from the Quran is the prolongation. Like for example, when I'm speaking Arabic, I'm not gonna be like Ya Ibrahim. I'm not gonna say that. I'm just gonna be like Ya Ibrahim. I'm just gonna pronounce it like naturally, like as a regular day-to-day conversation, right? But in the Quran, it's different. In the Quran, there's something called prolongation, which is med that you perform when things happen. Okay. Okay. So what is the thing that goes under the med? So the subcategory of med is maddu asli, which is the natural med. Okay, and you prolong this med 2 counts. Okay. So for example, it will be what we can say, and Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. It's only 2 counts. Alameen. Okay? And usually the letters of med are 3 letters that you use most of the time to extend to. Either is alif, waw, and ya. They're called huruf al-med. That's the first part, or the first type of med. Then we have med fara'i, which is a secondary med. Okay, so the first one is a natural med that you give any of these 3 letters that you come across. Wallah, another example with the alif will be وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ, it's monetary, but another example will be ظَالِمِينَ. You're going to extend a little bit longer to the alif. And kafirun, you're going to extend naturally with the waw, 2 counts, right? And the ya, ظَالِمِينَ, or عَالَمِينَ, as naturally. But there's another types, or there are more types of med and prolongation that happens, which are called far'i. Far'i in Arabic means secondary. Like a second thing. It's not the main thing. It's like a branch. It's not the whole root, but it's a branch. Okay, and they have 4 inside of mad al-far'i. There are 4 types. The first one is mad al-muttasil. Okay, which is called the connected mad. Okay, it's when a mad letter is followed by a hamza in the same word, and you give it 4 counts. So you have the option of 4 to 5 counts. Okay, 4 to 5 counts. Okay, so example would be. Same thing. If I give you the more examples that I give you, the more be more complicated. But this is the rule. Okay, mad muttasil. Okay, the second one is mad munfasil. Okay, which is separated. Okay, the first one was connected. This one is separated. That means there is going to be mad, but it's going to be separated. So when a mad letter is followed by a hamza in the next word. Okay, in the next word. So the first one was inside the same word. This one was in 2 different words. Okay. And that's called separated mad. And the fourth one is mad lazim. This one is the monetary one. This one is the obligatory one. And it's when a mad letter is followed by a sukoon and you count it 6. So for example, it is wala dallin. The dallin, the extending that I give is because that letter mad is followed by sukoon. Lin, wala dall. The lam is second, and then you give it 6 count. Okay, and the next one is mad arid. Okay, this one is temporary. Like mad, it comes, but it's temporary, and it's when you stop at a word with a sukoon at the end. Okay, so this one is called mad arid. It's when stopping at a word with a sukoon at the end. Okay, so these are the 4 types of mad al-far'i. Okay, so anytime that you see a person prolonging in the Quran, and either is between these 2 types, either is the natural mad, which is mad asli, the natural mad, or mad far'i. then you could be like, okay, if it's not مد طبيعي or sorry مد أصلي, either is going to be one of these four, which is مد متصل, مد منفصل, مد لازم, and مد عارض. Okay, and this is very, very crucial. This one is a very, very big one, because most of the Qur'an, what separates from the others is depending on the type of madud they do, right, or the type how well performing they can do with the med. Okay, so that was number 6 pillar that you need to perform, that you need to learn, so for you to be able to practice tajweed in the way it was meant. The 7th pillar is tafkhim. Okay, and we already covered this a little bit, but we're going to go a little bit more deep and more extremely detailed. So tafkhim is heavy pronunciation. Okay, heavy pronunciation. Okay, then we have isti'la letters. Isti'la is tafkhim. Isti'la in Arabic means something that's high, which is heavy letters. Okay, tafkhim applies when 7 letters on these 7 letters. Okay, these are they call huruf musta'aliyah. Okay, they're called huruf musta'aliyah, meaning these are the letters that actually have and more tafkhim, more heavy, more magnified and sound, which is kha, sad, dad, ghain, dal, ta, qaf, and dha. Okay, so these are the letters. They're called huruf musta'aliyah. Okay, then the second subcategory is in specific, and it happens in special cases, which is the ra. Okay, there are 8 places that the ra gets heavy, and some other places they don't. So heavy, the ra gets heavy when it has a fatha or dhamma. Okay, and we already gave the example on the 2 different types of the ra when it's either heavy or light. And the example that we gave was Maryam. The ra in the word mar, it's heavy. It's not mar, it's mar. Yam. Compared to when I say mudhakkir, the ra is a little bit less heavier, right? And the same thing with the lam. For example, there's going to be Allah is going to be Allah, and sometimes it's going to be Allah. The lam either could be heavy, it could be light. So in the word of Allah, it's heavy when it's preceded by fatha or dhamma. Same thing with the ra. Okay, so same thing. I cannot go extremely detailed because that's going to be more complicated. But this is the cases, the specific cases that the ra either could be heavy or it could be light. Same thing with the ra, and same thing with the lam. That was the 7th pillar that you need to know in terms of pronouncing or in terms of practicing tajweed in the way it was meant. The 8th pillar is tarqiq, which is the opposite of tafkhim. Okay, so tafkhim and tarqiq, there are 2 opposite characteristics that happens to the letters. Okay, so tarqiq is softness, it's light pronunciation. All the letters, so as you can see over here, most of the letters, all non-tafkhim letters. So what are the tafkhim letters that we talked about? Kha, sad, dad, ghain, ta, qaf, and dha. Okay, these are the letters that you do tafkhim, including some specific times that happens ra and lam. So what are the light letters? Anything that are not these letters. Okay, those are the light letters. And same thing, ra comes under between them. Why? Because ra goes between either tafkhim and tarqiq. So you're gonna find ra one there and one there. So it's better to mention either it could be here or either it could be here. Okay, so here ra, it's light when it has a kasra, when you put a kasra and influenced by kasra. So on the ra it's followed like mudhakkir, the ra, kir, mudhakkir, lasta alayhim bimusaytir. That ra, it's followed by a kasra. That way, because of that kasra, it becomes muraqqaq, it becomes more light pronounced. Same thing with the lam. Okay, so sometimes Allah, Allahi, some people Allah, the word most of the time Allah, the word of Allah, most of the time it is mufakham. Most of the time it's mufakham. But there are some cases that you make it muraqqaq, but most of the time it's mufakham. So same thing with the lam. In Allah, when it's preceded by kasra, it becomes muraqqaq. Okay, so that was the 8th pillar that you need to know. So you'll be able to use tajweed or practice tajweed in the Quran the way it was meant. And the 9th one is ghunna. Okay, and this one is a big one too. Ghunna, as we mentioned, is a nasalization that happens inside of your nose, right? It's that little humming that you do. That little humming that you do inside of your nose. Okay, so ghunna with shadda. So there are 2 types, which is ghunna with a shadda, and there's ghunna with ikhfa. Okay, so ghunna with a shadda is you prolong that sound on the noon and mim. Give them 2 counts. Okay, so if I ask you how many counts do you give ghunna, well, are you gonna be like وَأَنزَلَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابِ? Of course not, because you're giving a 6 count, which is wrong. You don't give ghunna 6 count, you only give it 2 counts, which is وَأَنزَلَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ مِن قَبْلِ أَن يَأْتِيَكُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. Right, you just give it 2 counts. Then there's ghunna with ikhfa, and this occurs when noon or tanween is followed by ikhfa letter. Okay, and a nasal sound is pursued and without full pronunciation. So as we talked about, ikhfa is something that's between ghunna, merging, and its clearness. So it's something that's between idhar and idgham. It's in the middle. Okay, so that's when you do ghunna with ikhfa. Okay, that's when you do ghunna with ikhfa. So ghunna is very, very important in when we are practicing the Quran, when we are reciting the Quran. It's a crucial part that we have to know, and when we are practicing the Quran, because it's not regular words. You're doing some nasalization work, you're doing some throat work, you're doing some tafkhim, tarqiq, you're doing all this stuff. But when you're reading the Quran, when you're speaking Arabic, these things don't occur. Okay, so learning how to speak Arabic is way different than learning how to recite the Quran. Yes, both of them, they have the same common background, which is both are in Arabic, but reading the Quran, we cannot just read it as we want. There's a way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to read it. And that's exactly what Tajweed will help you out with. Okay? So the 10th thing is waqf. Waqf and ibtida. Waqf in Arabic means stopping, and ibtida means starting. Okay? So waqf and ibtida, this is when you become more and more advanced in Tajweed. Okay, is this something that you need to learn and as important like the ghunna, tafkhim, and tarqiq? No, but it is something that you should consider when you're learning tajweed. So the reason of waqf wa ibtida, why is it important? The reason it's important is the meaning. Okay, as I told you before, tajweed, it covers the Quran, how you should recite the Quran, and the Quran is very, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke the Quran in Arabic, and Arabic is very sensitive language. Okay, so if you put a kasra under somewhere that you shouldn't, the whole meaning will change. Like I'll give you an example. I'll just give you a 3-letter word, and if we switch the fatha, kasra, dhamma, it has a different meaning. For example, we have qabala, qaf, ba, lam, qabala. Qabala means acceptance, like you accept the thing. When I put a kasra, qibala, that right now is way different. It means facing. When I say qubala, means a kiss. So just changing that qaf, either with a fatha or kasra or dhamma, changes the whole word. Same thing with when you're doing the stopping and starting. So this goes back to the tonality and the way that you stop and the way that you go. And this is a very advanced part in the tajweed, but this is something that you should consider. So another example would be, when I say, I'll give you a sentence. When I say, I didn't say that he killed his wife. That's a statement, right? I didn't say that he killed his wife. But when I say, I didn't say he killed his wife, automatically you'll be like, oh, so he didn't say, probably someone else did, right? Same thing when I say, I didn't say he killed his wife. So probably he's not the one who said it, right? He didn't say that. It wasn't either the first one, it wasn't him. This one, he didn't say that. Probably he showed the person and who killed his wife, or if he killed his wife. Same thing when I say, I didn't say that I didn't say that he killed his wife. So it could be someone else. So as you can see, just stopping and going and moving, the whole sentence will change. Same thing in the Quran. So you have to learn when to stop and when to not to stop on. For example, when we say an example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and the Jewish, they said, Allah, or the Christian, they said that Allah has a kid. If you stop, Allah has a kid, automatically the meaning will change, right? Like you right now, you're giving a statement that Allah has a kid, so that means you cannot stop over there. So that's going to be prohibited. You cannot stop over there in that word. So you have to make sure that you have to connect the whole sentence to each other so the full meaning comes out. Okay? So under waqf and ibtida, there are types of waqfs as stopping. So there is waqf tam, which is complete stopping at the end of an idea or a meaning, right? Usually it's at the end of the verses. Okay? Then where there is waqf kafi, so it's a sufficient and stopping, where the meaning is almost completed. It's not fully completed, but you can connect, at least you know what's coming up. Right? And there is waqf hasan, there's a good stop at the end of each verse or phrase, right? And there is waqf qabih, which is the worst one, which is the bad stopping on a phrase where the meaning is get disturbed. Okay, so the meaning is, it doesn't make sense anymore. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to tell us something, but you made the opposite. Same thing that I gave you the example was, and Allah وَقَالَتِ الْيَهُودُ نَحْنُ أَبْنَاءُ اللَّهِ. You cannot stop over there. If you say نَحْنُ أَبْنَاءُ اللَّهِ, you're confirming what the Jewish said, which is the Jewish said that we are the sons of God. If you stop over there, like the whole meaning changed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want us to say that. He's telling us the Jews what they said, but the real meaning or the real result comes after that, right? So that's a waqf qabih, intibah qabih. Okay, how can we know, or how can we identify where to stop on the Quran and where we shouldn't stop? Okay, so there are some actually and signs inside the Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the people who wrote the Quran, they actually took the Quran to the next level. They're even giving us symbols that we can actually follow, or we can indicate that if it's a good stop or not, or if we should stop over here or not. Okay, so the first one is meme. you're going to see on top of the Quran, the letter pure meme on top of it. Over there, you have to stop. It's mandatory. Like, you have to stop. Then we have Jim. You're going to see a Jim on top of it, which is permissible stop. You're allowed to stop by it. Okay? Then we have La. Then La. La means in Arabic, no. Like, it's telling you, do not stop here. Continue. Like, it's not recommended. Continue. Then there is Waqf. Then it means to stop. It's encouraged. Like, the meaning will be fully completed, so please stop here. Okay? So you have to follow these steps. And I think so the best way, I don't think so, but it is actually true. The best way that you can practice Waqf and Ibtida is just listening to the greatest reciters of all time, which is Khalil Husari, Abdul Basit Abdul Samad, because these people, they took to the Quran to the next level. Like, these people, when they stop, meaning like they will stop. Like I remember, and my teacher, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him the Jannah, he said, like, he was giving me an example of how the meaning actually changes. So he said in the Surah to Yusuf, he said, and قالوا أئنك لأنت يوسف. That's the regular. So when Yusuf alayhi salam, when they saw him, and he was at that time, he was a prime minister. So then when they went to Egypt, so it's Yusuf alayhi salam's story. So it's a long story, but at the end, when they discovered that it is Yusuf, they said, "Are you Yusuf?" So that's the question, right? Are you Yusuf? Then Yusuf said, "Yes, it's me," right? But inside the ayah, he changed the meaning. He said, "And قالوا أئنك لأنت يوسف. يوسف قال أنا يوسف." And at that moment, it was like, wow. Like, that's different level of stopping and different meaning that he's giving me right now, right? So he said, Yusuf said, I am Yusuf, right? Like, you're giving more taste to the story. So just being able to identify and learn, this is a whole science. Like, to be honest, this is a whole science that you can actually practice, that you will learn, inshallah ta'ala. Like, where to stop and where not to stop, what makes the whole, the beauty of the Quran, right? So the Quran is not just making beautiful in our voice. There's a lot of deep meanings. And you need to study the Quran as we study other things, right? It is a skill that we learn and we practice, right? And so that was the waqf. Then we have ibtida. Ibtida is starting, right? So sometimes there are rules that when we stop somewhere, should we stop there and then continue from there? Like, can we be like, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Al-Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. That doesn't make sense. It's better to stop Alameen than continue for Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, right? Then you could be like Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, right? You can continue stopping from there. Ibtida is, okay, where should I start from? Because sometimes when you continue, and let's go back to the same example that my teacher shared with me. He said, قالوا أئنك لأنت يوسف. Yusuf قال أنا Yusuf. So I started from where? I started from the back, which is Yusuf said I am Yusuf. So that's ibtida. That's where you start from, right? That's something that goes with the waqf. So wherever that you stop, should you stop there or you should continue from there, right? So that's the main reason of an ibtida, which is starting. Where should you start from? Okay. So yes. So these are the 10 rules or 10 pillars that you need to cover for you to be able to master Tajweed in the right way that you should. Okay, so as we talked about, Tajweed is a crucial science that will help you recite the Quran exactly as it was meant or as it was revealed. As you're working through these fundamentals, which is the Tajweed rules, you probably have questions that came up. This is the reason that I create Zad Zone. Zad Zone will be the place that you're going to be able to find those questions and answers that you need in order for you to cut this journey in the right way. It's a very simple space where you can ask questions, share what you're practicing, what's making you stop, keep you motivated, and you're going to learn alongside with other students that have the same ambition, which is getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and understanding his book in the right way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. Again, if you want to be part of this community, check the first link inside the description. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Congratulations on reaching this stage. So after you learned how to read Arabic and specifically how to read the Quran, then you start implementing Tajweed and you have that 2 skills right now. The next stage is to memorize the Quran. Okay, so I will share with you my methods and the way that I help my students to memorize the Quran. Okay, so the next phase is, after learning Tajweed in Arabic, is through the method that I call Barakah. Okay, it's called Barakah. It's very simple and it is something Mubarak. It will change your life, inshallah ta'ala, if you start implementing it. So after you reach this stage, your next step is to memorize the Quran. And you have to remember, you have to know this. This journey requires a balanced approach. So you have to be very, very, very and conscious about how you're going to approach memorizing the Quran. And considering the mental health, physical, and spiritual preparation. Okay, so inshallah ta'ala, I'm going to share with you an overview of how to memorize the Quran. So Barakah method, the B starts begin with attention. Okay, so you have to be mentally prepared to memorize the Quran. You have to know why do you want to memorize the Quran. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala picks those who he chooses to memorize the Quran specifically. with a specific skills, with a specific attentions. And you have to know this, Islam is the only religion that rewards people based on their attention. There's no other religion in this world that gives you ajr for just having attention, right? So knowing your why, then after you know your why, make a sincere intention that you really want to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so first thing is begin with your attention. Under that there is a setting your attention and purpose. Begin with a sincere attention, niyyah. Okay, that's your niyyah. Why you want to memorize the Quran, and keep that as much as you can, and remind yourself regularly. If you have, like, I cannot share my background, but I have a whole board that I look to every single day, which is my goals. Okay, which is my goals. I keep looking to that until I reach my goals. Okay, when they said out of sight, out of mind, it's actually true. Like when you have something in front of you, that means you can continually and remember that. But if it's out of sight, you cannot remember it. Okay, so you have to have sincere attention, niyyah, to seek closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, the main reason that we're doing this, the main reason I'm sharing this is for me to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and help you get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And after that attention, regularly renew it. Renew your niyyah. Okay, each time, if it's daily, better. Each time that you sit on the kitab, remind yourself, I'm doing this for sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no one else. You're not doing it for your mother, you're not doing it for your parents, you're not doing it for your father, you're not doing this for your siblings, you're doing this to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? And you have to know this. Memorizing the Quran, like it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses those that He wants to memorize the Quran. As He said, Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu al-hafidhun. We have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking, He said, we have revealed the Quran and we're going to protect it. So you have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be that source that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects His Quran to. Right? Imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala picking you to continually and taking care of the Quran and teaching it. So that means you're going to be one of the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's tools to memorize the Quran. One of the tools that He's going to use to make sure that this Quran gets delivered to the next generation. By the way, people that think that the Quran has to be written and if the kitab goes away, we're going to lose the Quran. No. There are some people who memorize the Quran from cover to cover with no any mistake. So asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make you one of those, it's a crucial part, and it's something that's very, very special. That's the first thing. Second thing is goal setting and planning. Having a goal, it's very, very, very important, right? You have to set an achievable goal. And there's some method that's called SMART goal, which is specific, measurable, and actionable, relatable, and time and management, or time and that time and line time, or the time that goal that you want to achieve has a timeline, right? So you have to have a SMART goal, right? Memorizing it just so every month you're gonna be like, okay, in this month, inshallah ta'ala, and I'm gonna memorize one juz, which is 20 pages. So on average, that means you have to memorize, let's say, in half a page, or a little bit above half a page. So your goal every single day is just to memorize that half a page. After a month, you'll be able to memorize a juz. Okay? Then you have to break that big goal, to small daily actions or weekly tasks. Balancing between memorizing and reviewing. Because the goal of memorizing the Quran, like I'll say this to you, and you're gonna continue. Like I want you to remember this. Memorizing the Quran is very easy, but holding to it's hard. Memorizing the Quran is easy, but holding to it or continually memorizing or continue being memorized the Quran, that's the hard part. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, forgetting the Quran, it's way easier than a camel that's on a leash. Like a camel that gets out, like the Prophet's giving an example based on the people he lived between in, right? Like right now in these days, we're going to be like, forgetting the Quran is going to be like easier than swiping, because that's something that we can relate to. But the Prophet ﷺ said, forgetting the Quran is way easier than a camel that got his leash, or the thing that you hold or that you control with got loose, for example, that camel will just go away, right? The Quran is way easier to forget. Okay, so memorizing the Quran is easy, it's very easy, but what's more easier is forgetting the Quran. Okay, so you have to have this plan that you're going to be like, okay, I want to memorize this, but at the same time I want to maintain this. Okay, so you have to have actionable goals. You have to break down those tasks, and you have to break down those to daily actions that you're going to take, balancing between memorization and review. Inshallah ta'ala, when you join Zad Institute, I'm going to do this inshallah ta'ala for you, and we're going to sit down based on your schedule, based on your goals. Inshallah ta'ala, we're going to make it easier for you within that. The third thing is focus and mindfulness. Okay, if I just gave you a task, if I just gave you something to do, if you're multitasking, if you're doing it with a lot of stuff, you're going to be like overwhelmed. You're not going to do the thing very, very like as I want, or as the person wants from you, or as you should, right? Focusing is a weapon that we start losing these modern days. Like people, they cannot focus for 5 minutes. Okay, You have to use your whole mindfulness, and you have to use focus to memorize the Quran. Like, you have to be like anti-distraction as much as possible. Okay? Practice focus techniques like deep work. Okay? Like, I have these small things that I use to keep me accountable. Like, I will set a timer. I'm not gonna leave my desk until that thing gets done. Whatever happens, I'm not gonna move. Like, the world can collapse. I'm not gonna move until I'm done doing this, right? So exactly what I'm doing right now, I have a timer that goes on. I'll put it in front of me where I can see the time, so I can keep myself accountable, and I'm not gonna move until that thing is done. Same thing for you. You have to practice focus techniques, deep work, mindfulness, and strengthen your concentration. Create a pre-memorization routine. Okay? One of the best things that you can do is try to memorize the best time that you're not distracted, which is the morning. That's why we memorize it early in the morning, or way better to memorize it early in the morning, because there's nothing. You just woke up, you're not hungry, you're not tired, everybody's sleeping. Start tackling your day with the Quran. Okay, start memorizing that day. Or you could pray 2 rak'ah before you start memorizing to make everything easy for you. You can make wudu, be like, oh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm trying to do this for the next 45 minutes, make it easy for me. It's a simple task, it's a simple thing, but it will help you. Okay? So that was the first B, which is begin with attention, and these are the 3 things that you need to follow. The A is actively maintaining health. Our health plays a big role in the way that we function in all different aspects in life, right? If you're not healthy, then like there's no, you cannot do the basic things. If you're not healthy, I'll guarantee you're not going to be motivated to pray in Salah in time. You're not going to be able to pray Salah too late because you're not healthy. A healthy person will wake up in the middle of the night and pray. If your back is sore and you have these tight joints and you have this and what is it called, back pain, you're not. Let's be honest. You're not going to wake up in the middle of the night and start praying, right? It's going to be difficult. Praying like making ruku' is going to be difficult. When I see and like old people cannot make ruku', I'll be like, subhanallah, if they took care of their health at a young age, probably they're not going to be like this right now, right? And the Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ, they were known with health. Like, they were very, 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 very active. Like I'm pretty sure the Prophet ﷺ, when he was like 60 years old, he would be like the 20 years old right now nowadays. Like, that's how healthy he was, right? So being active and being healthy as a Muslim is a crucial thing. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prefers, and Allah subhanahu, as the Prophet ﷺ said, and as the Prophet ﷺ, al-mu'min al-qawi, the most strong Muslim or strong mu'min believer, ahabbu ila Allah, is beloved to Allah subhanahu more than al-mu'min al-da'if, than the weak mu'min. And that's in everything. In terms of financially, if you've been more rich, of course you're going to be more better Muslim, because you're going to pay more charity, you're going to have more and a way to sustain more better life for you and your community and your parents and your family in general, right? If you're healthy, better. That means you're going to pray on time, you're going to be very healthy, better, right? So in all different ways, that's the rule that I use. I want to be the best as much as I can in all things, right? There are going to be things I'm not going to be good, those are my weaknesses, but I'll try my best to be at least the most knowledgeable person. I'll try to be the most richest person. I'll try to be the most and better Muslim in terms of communication with others, because akhlaq, your manners, plays a big role. Improving your manners, because Prophet ﷺ said, "Inna aqrabakum ilay manzilatan and ahasinukum akhlaqa." Or as he said, the most closest people upon you guys, he's talking to the nation, is those have the highest manner. Okay, he didn't say those who pray on time. Yeah, those are guaranteed things that make you enter the Jannah, but I won't guarantee you being close to the Prophet ﷺ. The thing that will make you close to the Prophet ﷺ is your manners. So every single day, inside of my goal, improve your communication skills. Because why? Because these are the things that will guarantee you the Jannah. Not just Jannah, being close to the Prophet ﷺ. Just imagine the Prophet ﷺ just living beside you. It's like subhanAllah, it's crazy. Like, the Prophet ﷺ living beside you. It's something that I cannot imagine. But the only thing that will guarantee that is improving, right? So actively maintaining health, your nutrition. What do you eat will influence how you pray. That's how I can break it down. What you eat will improve how better you're gonna pray, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts your dua. Because if you eat something haram, I will guarantee you, Allah, if you spend the next 100 years, you're never gonna be hafiz, because you're eating haram. So that means your nutrition plays a big role. Okay, so you have to eat something that's halal. After you consider that halal as an income, the money that you buy that food with, it has to be good, it has to be halal. The thing that you're eating has to be halal itself. It's not pork, it's not alcohol. You have to make sure that these things that you eat and consume are halal. Okay, then eating mind boosting foods like nuts. Then afterwards we can start juggling and start talking about the things that will improve your memorization. Okay, so and honey and nuts, fish, leafy greens. These things are things that will help you memorize better. Okay, in general. Okay, so making sure that what you eat, it's halal and it's more healthy. Okay, and the second part is hydration, which is a crucial part with nutrition, what you eat. Okay, drinking water as much as you can. as much as you can, right? Because these modern days we just eat coffee. Like I have a cup of coffee in front of me right now. Like I should have started with a cup of water, but still, it is something that you should consider drinking water as much as you can, because these things will help you memorize better. Okay. The second thing is exercise, and sleep, and mental clarity. And these things are the things that the Prophet ﷺ used to do. Like I didn't bring these things out of my mind. These are the things that the Prophet ﷺ used to do. As we know, the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba. Forget about the Prophet ﷺ. The Sahaba, his companions. Khalid ibn Walid, do you think he had a big gut? Do you think he was more chubby person? Or do you think he was ripped? He was an organized person? Like, what do you think? Do you think he was more like chubby, more unhealthy? Of course. He was ripped, he was more energized, he was more and a better Muslim, right? So exercising, right? The Prophet ﷺ, he never mentioned that because he never thought that we're going to end up like this, but he could have told us that exercise plays a big role, right? It goes back to the same thing. You're not going to be able to pray if you're not exercising. Second thing is sleep. Sleep, like if I'm going to tell you one hack, if I'm going to tell one thing that will guarantee at least 50% of your success in this life is sleeping. You might be telling me like sleeping, like does that mean I have to sleep? Sleeping, like first of all, sleeping for 8 hours, that's a myth. It's not a fact. It's something that they mention. They say that person needs to sleep for 6 to 8 hours, and as an adult and kids from 14 to whatever. That's a myth. Each person knows how many hours are enough for him to get enough sleep. Okay? So like for example, for me, if I sleep for 8 hours, that's a disaster. I'm not going to perform as I want in the day. I'll feel like I want to just sleep more. 8 hours is not a sweet spot. All the data are saying 8 hours, but guess what? That's for other people, not for me, right? So it's like going to the hospital and the doctor just give you a Tylenol and you have a stomach or you have a headache, right? And another person came, he was complaining about his knee and the doctor gave him Tylenol. So that means the description itself is not for everybody, but each person is different. So it's quality over quantity. Like if I get 4 to 5 hours with no interrupted, if I didn't wake up in the middle of the night and I didn't eat a lot before I went to sleep and I didn't like do crazy workout of the other day, the next morning I will wake up enough sleep. And that's 5 hours. That's enough. My sweet spot is 6 hours, 6 to 6 hours and a half. But more than that, it's just not for me. Okay, so remember, sleeping is quality over quantity. Okay, and then afterwards, it's mental clarity. Like the Prophet ﷺ, when he used to have something that used to like bug him or something that comes up that he wasn't expecting, do you know what he used to do? He used to run to Salah. Make wudu, go pray 2 rak'ah. Simple as that. Like, I don't know what could be anti-anxiety, just praying 2 rak'ah. Simple, right? And these are the things that we don't do, but it will make a big difference in our life. Like if you feel something's wrong, make wudu. Very simple. You already know how to make wudu, right? I hope that you know how to make wudu, and I hope you know where the qibla is, and I hope you know how to pray 2 rak'ah. Simple as that, right? Incorporating these things inside of your life will make life more easier. I'm not going to tell you like, do you have to work out 6 hours every single day and you have to be this and that. No, I just want you to do the basics, like light exercise, like walking. Like walking will change your life in a way that you don't understand. Like for me, like if I had more time to do something, I would just walk. To be honest, like I would just walk. And you can do a lot of stuff. You can either memorize Quran while walking. You can either learn new things. You can listen to podcasts. You can do a lot of stuff that you cannot imagine just walking. Right? It will just boost your energy. It will just clear your mind. Right? After, of course, praying 2 rak'ahs. Right? So try to aim at least, I'm not going to say 8 to 7 hours every single day, but what matters to me is the quality of the sleep, not the quantity. Okay, so if you go to bed, like, let's say, after Isha, the Prophet ﷺ, one of the things that Aisha mentioned, she said, Prophet ﷺ never used to like talking after Isha. Because he knows if he starts talking, that means he won't go to sleep. So he'd rather to stop preventing the things that will make him not to go to sleep, right? So same thing for you. After you pray Isha, make a time bed that you go to bed. Like instead of having time to wake up, have a timing going to bed. Have an alarm that goes on, time to go to bed. Okay, for each night, for better memory and retention. Okay, so that's exercising, sleep, and mental and clarity. Number third thing that goes after actively maintaining health is breaks and rest days. You have to know this, that you cannot just work like as a machine. There are some times that you're going to burn out. Burnout is actually something true. Like you cannot be on a desk just studying for 12 hours for 365 days. It doesn't happen like that. We're humans. We need to interact. We need to do stuff. So you have to have some breaks. Okay? And there's a technique called Pomodoro method, which is you set a timer for 25 minutes and you sit down and you just focus on one thing. It could be anything. Just focus on that one thing for 25 minutes. Then after that 25 minutes, after the time goes on, you take 5 minutes rest. Okay, and you continue doing this until you finish your whole task. So probably it will take you like 4 rounds for an hour. Right? It will take you for 1 hour and 15 minutes probably. Right? So right now you're focusing, you're giving it all effort, and probably something that will take you like for 3, 4, 5 hours. You can just do it within 2 hours. Okay, for me 25 hours that's not enough. I feel like that's I'm too like very very inside the deep work, but I give myself 100 minutes, like 100 minutes or 90 minutes. Okay, so there's a rule that I use which is 100 minutes. So I'll sit down for 100 minutes, which is 1 hour and 40 minutes, and you have to build up. It's not gonna be something that you do suddenly, but I'll do this for 100 minutes. I'll just sit down, focus for 100 minutes. Then after that, I'm pretty sure the thing that I want to do will be done. For example, like what I'm doing right now. Okay, so taking breaks and rest days are very important. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, one day a guy came to him and he said, "Oh Bakr," he said, "I feel like I'm a hypocrite. Like I feel like I'm a munafiq. I have 2 faces." And Abu Bakr was like, "What? Like why you say that? Like what made you say that?" And he said, "When I'm at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I feel like the paradise just comes down. Like the paradise is like there. I feel like I'm very like into the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whatever he's saying. But when I go back to my wife, when I go back to my kids, like that emotion just goes away." He said, "Isn't that a sign of being a hypocrite?" Like, then Abu Bakr was like, "You know what? I have the same thing. Like that's exactly what I feel like. Let's go to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and tell this about it. Let's tell him what's going on." Then he took him. They went to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he heard what they said, he just smiled. He said, "Sa'a wa sa'a," hour and hour, meaning you cannot just stay fully dedicated for one thing like sa'a wa sa'a, hour and hour, right? So I'm not gonna say you spend 1 hour doing one thing, but it means like you cannot be in the same emotion like for a long time. You cannot be like fully focused like for like 4, 5, 10 hours. Unless if you're a freak or something, like unless if you're like outside the, like if you're different, if you will build different, that's a different thing. But like sa'a, time and time. Like either you're spending time with the kids and the wife, and sometimes you're focusing. You spend time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means no wife, no kids, no nothing, just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So taking breaks and rest days is important. Okay? And inshallah ta'ala in Zad Institute, there are gonna be some days that are gonna take some day off. Even if you feel like you want to do something, be like, no. Take a day rest, spend time with the family, and you're gonna feel like, oh, like I feel like I'm like it's part of your plan. It will be part of your plan. It will help you out, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so that was the A for the barakah. The third one is R, which is repetition techniques. You have to know that knowledge is just continually remembering, continually like going back to the thing that you memorized. And by the way, we need to be reminded more than that we need to learn something new. Like, I will guarantee you the paradise if you just act upon the things that you know. Wallahi, like it's like if you just act upon the things that you know, if you're a Muslim, you're watching this video, if you just act upon the things that you know, I will guarantee you the Jannah. If you pray on time and if you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by himself, right? No one, you're not making another God, you're not like associating another God with him, and you pray zakah and you do Ramadan, these things will help you go to the Jannah. Like these things will guarantee you the Jannah. So entering the Jannah in itself is just knowing what to do and just doing it. Okay? Same thing for the knowledge. Knowledge is just reminding yourself the things that are important to you, which is repetition, right? Repetition techniques, proven memorization techniques. So repetition and consistency. Like the Quran needs a lot of repetition and a lot of consistency, right? Repetition will build the memorization, the first foundation. Consistency will build the review, the muraja'ah, the things that you have memorized. So using spaced repetition will make you remember the more new information that you're learning, right? So let's say you memorize something, and there's a lot of scientifically and things there's a lot of what is it called and research that they have done about spaced repetition, right? So we're gonna use those inshallah to make sure that what you're memorizing it doesn't get forgotten. Because the last thing that we wanna do is make you memorize something, but you keep continuing forgetting. And I'll give you an example that my teacher told me. He said, memorizing the Quran and forgetting is like a cup that has a hole on the bottom. The more you put, there's a hole on the bottom, so that's when you can just continue putting water, but that water doesn't stay because there's a hole on the bottom. We don't want that to happen. We want to make sure that the cup is very big, and we continue putting water, and that's how knowledge stays. And you continue going back to whatever that you memorize. Okay, so you have to have a daily memorization routine. Okay, something that you continue to memorize every single day. Right? Let's say you want to memorize a half a page, you're going to spend, let's say, 30 to 40 minutes just repeating those. Okay, and while you're repeating, when you memorize them, then you're going to start doing something called shadow repetition, which is you're doing something else, but still you continue like working on something else. Like you're driving to work, but still you can like repeating that. Okay, so inshallah ta'ala, I'll help you out. What are the things that want to fix things that you need to do and inside of your day. So the second thing inside is chunking and breaking down verses. Our brain doesn't work as a computer. I cannot just give you a whole file and be like, organize it. Your brain doesn't work like that. You have to break down the verses. You have to break down whatever that you want to memorize into simple chunking parts. Okay, breaking each verse into manageable 2 to 3 words chunks. Okay, master each chunk, then combine for smooth recitation. Okay, so if you want to memorize a page, you're going to start reading it until you're familiar of reciting the rhythm of the page, listen to as much as possible. Then after you're sure that you have memorized it, you put the kitab on the side and you're just going to break it down. So each page, the Rasm al-Uthmani, it's 15 lines. So you're going to break that into 5 lines. For example, so you're going to start with the first 5 line. So until you master that 5 lines, you're not going to go to the second 5 lines or the third 5 lines. You're just going to master that first. Repeat. If that's too much, break it down to 2.5, and you continue repeating. And at the end, you combine both, so you can have that smooth recitation. So breaking down, it's a big part of our memorization. That's how we memorize. That's the reason right now, over here in Western countries or over here in America, they break down the numbers in 3 parts. Like it'll be like 3, 2, 0, 5, 2, 1, whatever, like 5, 4, 4. And they break it in 3 parts. So it's easy for you to remember that number. They're not doing that just to make it more easy and for everybody to see it. No, it's easy for everybody to memorize it. Okay, so when you see a number on the board, you already know 320 or whatever, 415 or whatever, 612, whatever the 3 numbers that you live in the what is it called, the local place that you live at. But you're just gonna focus on the next and last 4 digits and 3 digits in the middle. So they chunk it, they break it down, right? So yeah, so chunking is a very, very big part of memorizing the Quran. The third thing is and visualization and association. And when you vision something, if I tell you right now, apple, I'm pretty sure the apple that I saw was red. I'm pretty sure it was red apple. Why? Because when you hear the word apple, the first color that comes to your brain is red apple. It's not a pink apple. It's not a black apple. It's not a green apple. It's not a yellow apple. It's the red apple. Why? Because your brain actually uses visioning things more better than just saying it and hearing it. Like you can remember things that you vision way faster than just hearing it or just like repeating it, right? So when you start using vision like as a tool to memorize something, it becomes more easy for you to remember. Okay, and you start using that vision, you start associating with something else that looks very similar to that. It makes it more easier for your brain to recall the information. Okay, so in that instance, inshallah ta'ala, I'll break down like how does brain actually memorize something? Like how do we actually memorize something? Right? Then it becomes more easy for you to start practicing of memorizing, inshallah ta'ala. So you have to create a mental image or association for complex word or themes and visualize the page layout, remembering the structure. Right? One of the ways that we use is the colored mushaf. So there's a mushaf that's either a colors based on the meaning, but we can use that as a way that you can remember, be like, oh, I remember this page ends with this. Like if you ask me in in the Quran right now, I can identify what page is it at, or if it's in the beginning of the page, middle of the page, end of the page, or where is it at, right? I know where it is. So for example, if I ask you right now, where does Surah Al-Baqarah start from? Does it start from the right page or left page, right side or left side? You'd be like, starts from the left side. Okay, is it a full page or is it a half page? It's a half page. So exactly right now, so you start using your vision, you can start using your vision and recalling those information. So inshallah ta'ala, in Zen Institute, these are the things that inshallah ta'ala, we're going to help you out and to make memorizing more easier. Okay? Okay, then the last thing is engage in multiple and sense. So we have 5 senses, right? We have touch, smell, and sight, and hearing, right? So, and we have hearing, touching, sorry, hearing, looking, and speaking, and touching. We have 5 in general. We have 5, I'm pretty sure. And tasting, yes. So when we use more than 5 cents, like when we use those 5 cents, that's better that we can call that information. But does that mean we can touch the mushaf, we can taste the mushaf? Of course not. That means we're not going to taste the mushaf. It doesn't have no taste. But touching the mushaf, it has a feeling. Like if you're blind enough, I give you a kitab, be like, hey, guess what kind of book is this? When you start touching, you'll be like, this is a kitab. So it means that touching actually works on the Quran. Right? So when you touch something, when you have it in your hand, it's way different than when you're reading it from your computer. It's way different. At the same time, can we hear it? Like, can we hear the Quran? Can we use like other people reciting the Quran? Yes. So right now, touching and hearing. Can we look at it? Yes. Like that's exactly what you're doing. Like you're not blind. You can see the kitab. You're not blind. Like you can literally read the Quran. Perfect. So it's a 3 sense. That then is, can we actually say it after they're done reciting whatever? Can we actually repeat it with words? Yes. So right now, the Quran, you can use multiple sense memorizing it. And you have to make sure that you're tapping all 4. Okay? The more you tap in these 4, the more better the memorization becomes. The more stronger whatever that you memorized will be able for you to recall it. Like you're going to be able to recall the information way faster. Okay? So using multiple sense is a crucial part. And when you're practicing the Quran. So writing the verses down, that's one of the ways that we do Zad Institute. Okay? Listening to the Quran, listening to recitation, like listening to another Qari, okay? Reciting out loud. Okay, follow a qari for proper rhythm and pronunciation. Okay, so you're gonna listen to the sheikh, not me, but to a sheikh, that's when you're practicing your memorization. You listen to the sheikh, you try to mimic exactly what he's doing. Then when you're done reading like him and you're sure you're done reading like him, then afterwards you're gonna put the kitab on the side and you're gonna start reading by yourself. So you tap first, you start with listening, then you start reading by yourself out loud. Then after you're done memorizing, you put the kitab on the side and you start writing what you have memorized. Wallahi, I will guarantee if you just follow those three things in this period, whatever that I said, if you just follow those three, probably you're gonna memorize the Quran way faster than anyone else. And this method, you can use it with anyone. Even 60 years old can do it, and he will still memorize the Quran. Okay? So the A is attuning your heart, engaging or putting your heart and your spiritual together. Okay? You have to make sure that memorizing the Quran is not just techniques. It's your spiritual plays a big role of memorizing the Quran. Like, I cannot emphasize this. Like, your spiritual part plays a big role to memorize the Quran. You have to know this. Like, you're not going to be able to memorize the Quran if you're not checked in your iman. If your iman is not solid, you're not going to memorize the Quran. That's why we start the Quran, we stop, we start again, we stop. It's a loop that never ends. Like, it's something that continues back and forth. It's a circle that never ends. We start the Quran, we continue a little bit, we stop, and we start again all over again. The reason is our iman is not strength enough yet. So you have to make sure that your iman is checked. You pray on time. You make sure that you're not harming other people in terms of your words and your actions, right? So these things will help you memorize the Quran. Matter of fact, I would say 70% of memorizing the Quran is just purifying yourself. Wallahi, there's nothing else. Because the only heart that will keep the Quran is the pure heart. A heart that's filled with music, what is it called, all bad stuff, it's impossible for the Quran to be inside the heart. So atoning to your heart, it plays a big role. Atoning your heart plays a big role. So first of all, you have to show that you're relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to have that tawakkul. Like, you have to be like, oh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever that I do, it will be impossible. It won't work unless if you give me permission. And the way that you do that is through dua. Like, if I'm gonna share with you something that will change your whole life, is making dua. Wallahi, there's nothing else under the sun that will change your life in a good way that you want more than dua. Like, you have to show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you really want him. Like, you're not memorizing the Quran for your own benefit. You're memorizing the Quran to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the only way you're gonna get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing that you want him. That's the only way. Nowhere else. That's the only way that you can show that you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So begin at each session by relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, making dua to make the memorization easier for you. Okay? And whatever that you memorized, implement it into your salah. Start using it to your salah. Like, if you memorize one page from Surah Al-Baqarah, use it throughout the 5 times. Like, use it while you're praying when you're praying Fajr, when you're praying Dhuhr, when you're praying Asr, when you're praying, what are you reading? Are you reading Bible? Of course not. You're reading Quran. So why can't you just use whatever they memorized at the early day and just making sure you read that 5 more times? You're gonna be like, if I'm at the masjid, I'm gonna pray fast. Just read as much as you can. If it's a page, read 5. If it's like 2.5 lines per each salah, and at the end of the day, you repeat it 5 times. That's like 5 times you just repeat it with no any questions. So it's how we approach learning the Quran. It's not the problem is now we don't have time. It's how we approach ourselves, how we learn the Quran. Okay. So that's the first thing, showing that you're relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot do nothing. All of these things won't be working if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't give you permission to memorize the Quran. Okay. The second thing is purification of the heart. Your heart is like a cup. Whatever that you put inside of that cup will change the heart. If you put an ink or gasoline inside that cup will stink. That cup will be like black, right? But if you put water to that, yes, then the cup becomes more cleaner. And the only way you can do that is something called tazkiyah. Okay? Tazkiyah. And tazkiyah is improving yourself, improving your humility, improving your patience, improving your gratitude, avoiding distractions and dhunub and sins as much as you can, maintaining spiritual clarity as much as you can. Okay, which is praying on time, making sure you're not harming other people, making sure that you like your niyyah is sincere, you really want to memorize the Quran. Okay? And the third thing is reflecting on the Quranic meaning, tadabbur. The main reason that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Quran is not just to memorize it, it's to understand it. Memorizing the Quran is a noble thing. Every Muslim that you come across in the world, if you ask them, do you want to memorize the Quran? All of them will say, yes, we want to memorize the Quran. All of them, regarding if they're Chinese, if they're Malaysian, if they're American, if they're like Scandinavian, if they're like African, all of them, they want to memorize the Quran, which is a noble thing. But the thing that separates a hafiz and mutadabbir is the person who understands the Quran. Okay? So that's why in Zaid Institute we have sessions that we do weekly for tafsir, to understand, to resonate what we are reading. Because if I teach you how to memorize something, but you don't understand what it is, then There's nothing extra that I did for you. I just filled your brain with extra information that you could spend with something else, right? So reflect on Quranic and meaning, which is studying tafsir to deepen your understanding, right? So that tafsir will help you connect with the Quran. It will help you reflect, like be like you're gonna be asking yourself some deep questions, right? And those won't happen unless if you start asking these questions while you're reciting the Quran, knowing the meaning of what you're reading. Okay, that was the A. Number 5 is keep consistency in review. This is the most crucial part for the Quran. Okay, which is keeping whatever you memorized, like muraja. Muraja is like just going back whatever they memorized. As the Prophet ﷺ said, it's more easier to forget. The Quran is easier to forget than a camel that has a loose leash, right? Like the camel would just go away fast. Or another example, it's like easier, like in our Somali community, we say forgetting the Quran is easier than holding a bird on from its wings, right? The moment you just let go a little bit, or the moment you just sleep a little bit, it will just fly away. Same thing with the Quran. So you have to have a structured review schedule. Okay, you have to have a weekly schedule that you go back to whatever that you memorized in the old verses and dedicating one day for each week to review. Okay, you have to have one day that you stop, you just review everything that you do throughout that week. Okay, and this is a crucial part. This will maintain whatever that you memorized. Okay, so the next thing is self-assignment and feedback. Like this is the main part of the reason that I made that institute, which is you can find all this information on the online. Like there's no reason for me to spend like 3-4 hours putting this together, just giving it to the people. The main reason I'm making this is you have to have a teacher. You have to have a self-assignment and feedback. You have to have that feedback from a teacher, a mentor, a coaching, right? Recording yourself. We do this. You're gonna record yourself. You're gonna send it. We're gonna check it, and we're gonna make sure that you're on check. You're gonna be on the point. You're gonna be on your goal. But at the same time, you have to have from a teacher. You have to have a teacher, okay, and a mentor to improve. Because I'd rather to learn a lesson in life with less scarf than learning it all over by myself. And the only way to do that is having a teacher, a person who already did the thing, right? A person who already did the thing. So if I want to be the best athlete, I'm just gonna go to the best coach. Be like, hey, here's whatever that you want, and please and help me out become this person. He's gonna be like, okay, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do, right? Same thing with the Quran. You have to have a teacher that will support you. Whoever did whatever that he did in the past will help you, right? Because he's gonna share with you his wins, not his the things that he lost or the things that loses that he did, right? So you have to have a teacher. Number 3 is you have to have like a way that you can continually like methods to writing the Quran. You have to have a way that you can actually and reflect on the Quran, a way that you memorize the Quran. Okay, like a way that you force yourself that this is the way that you should memorize the Quran, a systemized way. Okay, so these are the 3 things that you need to do to keep consistency for reviewing. Okay, listen to your old recitation and select few things from the Quran that you think you need to work on. And these things, inshallah ta'ala, I will help you out with it through Zad Institute. Okay, number 6, arrange a study space. And this is very important. You have to have a dedicated place that you study at. It could be the masjid, it could be a corner inside your house, a place that you pray at, but this place has to be a place that you can go to every single time that you want to memorize something. Okay, for me, this is my studio that I work at, so over here won't be a best place that I can study at because my brain is gonna be like, okay, this is a place to work, not a place to study. So I have to dedicate a room, the next room, and just for studying and praying. Okay, so you have to have the same thing. Okay, dedicating space to study. Set up a distraction-free place, comfortable space for memorizing. Okay, to make sure that whatever that you memorized, it's there. So each time that you go there, automatically you know it's time to memorize. Your brain is like, okay, I know what to do right now. So you're building that habit of each time they go there, that it reminds you it's time to memorize. Okay, same thing like if you go to a field, my heart starts beating automatically. Why? Because it's like it tells my body like it's time to run. Like it's not a place to sleep at, right? Same thing if you go to the masjid, you're gonna be more quieter. You're gonna be more calmer. Why? Because it's a place that become calm, a place that you're more quiet. Same thing when you go to bed. Like when you go to bed, unless if you don't use your phone on your bed, but if you go to the bed, you just put your head down, you just fall asleep. Like, why? Because your brain is like, okay, I know this is time to sleep. So your body is very smart. So doing these things, it's gonna help you to memorize the Quran. Okay. The second thing that you need to do is consistency and in routine. You have to have a specific time. You have to have a specific routine that you do before or after when you're memorizing the Quran. We want to memorize the Quran. And as I said, the best time to memorize the Quran is early in the morning. So wake up 1 hour earlier before life starts running. And start just dedicating that hour. Okay. And that day, that week, the hour that you want to wake up, it doesn't start that hour. It starts the night before. So the time they go to bed, will know. Like you will know, like when you're gonna wake up. Like if you go to bed like 12 a.m. and you want to wake up 4 a.m. Like come on, it's impossible for you to wake up energized and prepared to memorize the Quran. But if you go to bed before after Isha, then it's gonna becomes more easy for you to wake up, right? So Considering all these things are like very important. Like sticking to your schedule for consistency. Like you have to have a time and set time that you're not going to change whatever that happens. If it changes a little bit, it's okay, but at least make it the same time. Okay. Then the third thing is accountability and support. Like you have to have a person that supports you. This is where the community comes in. Like when you have a community that supports you with memorizing the Quran or practicing the Quran, they will help you like to become the next potential, the next version of yourself. Why? Because they're gonna support you. So that's why you have to have a friend that will call in with you, be like, hey, it's been a couple of days, I didn't saw you at the masjid. Like, is there something wrong? And you have to have a teacher, a mentor, a group of people that can keep you accountable. So that circle, that community will keep you motivated. So when they start sharing their wins, and that's why we have Zad Institute. Like it's a community based. Everybody they have one goal, which is memorizing the Quran. If you like, you're gonna see students are way beyond your level. You can reach out to them, and be like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Like, can you help me out with this? Then they're gonna share this with you. And if you're a student and you feel like there's other people that they need more extra help, you're gonna help them. And as Prophet ﷺ said, "خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه." That's exactly what we're doing. The best upon you guys are those who memorize the Quran or learn the Quran and teaches it. So whatever they learn inside the community, you're gonna share with other people, right? So you have to have that accountability and support. So that's arranging a study space. And the H is hold into motivation. Okay, so if you want to memorize the Quran, you have to have two things: motivation and discipline. Okay, so when motivation doesn't work, you have to depend on discipline, because you cannot just depend on motivation. You have to have discipline too. But what is the difference? The difference is motivation is the thing that gets you hyped to do something. Like you are more motivated to eat when you're hungry. Like that's something that keeps you motivated to eat something. You're gonna be more motivated to sleep when you're tired. Like you're gonna be more motivated to make more money if you're if you're poor, right? So motivation comes from deprivation, right? So the more motivated that you are, the more you're gonna achieve that thing. But guess what? Sometimes through time, our motivation goes down. So what are the things that you can build up with that motivation? Discipline. Discipline is doing something regarding whatever that you feel like. If you feel bad, like regarding whatever happens, if you feel bad, still you're gonna perform. You're gonna feel like, okay, I'm gonna do this regarding whatever that happens. Like for example, the same example that I gave you. Like you went to bed for some reason, like you're late for 3-4 hours. Okay, you went to bed like you usually go to bed for like 9, but that day you went to bed like 12 a.m. and your time to wake up was 3 a.m. just to and have an hour with yourself and memorize the Quran. So at that time you're gonna be less motivated to wake up, but discipline will make you wake up. You're gonna be like, you know what? Whatever happens, I'm just gonna wake up. I'm gonna do whatever I do, like regardless of how I feel like. Okay, so that's the difference between motivation and discipline. So milestone celebrations. So you have to celebrate key achievement. Like if you're done, if you're able to, like as I shared with you on top, if you're able to read and you went to the next level of Ren and Tajweed, celebrate. Like why you're not gonna celebrate? Celebrate. And when on Zad Institute we have and then milestones and celebrations. So each student, I'm gonna call off and be like, this is what they did, this is what they did, and we're gonna share our wins with each other. Like we have to be happy for each other. You have to celebrate key and achievement, like completing a juz, right? That's a celebration. I remember, and my teacher, and when he told my mother, he was like, "Do you want to make Idris memorize the Quran?" And she was like, "Yeah." She was like, "The best way that you can motivate him is to give him something." And she was like, "What do you want?" I was like, There's a game that I used to like." And she was like, "Okay, if you finish and within this period of time, I'll get you that game, right?" I remember finishing that just or that thing or the goal that she set for me within, I don't know, 1 week and a half, and she gave me almost like a month, and she was surprised and like she couldn't believe. She was like, and then I started catching up. She was like, "Okay, after you finish every week, I'll just give you 20 guinea." And back in the days, 20 guinea is like it was 20 Egyptian pound. I still remember that. So I remember finishing like a just like every week. I started finishing just every week, and my mother, she used to give me that $20 or 20 Egyptian pound. So I used to flex in front of my in front of my friends. I'm not flexing and showing them off, but like I have cash, like I have something that you guys don't have, basically. So achievement is like completing something like and celebrating to stay more motivated. Like even if it's a small reward, have a day off. Reward yourself just to be like, you know what, I did a lot today. I'll appreciate myself. I'll tap myself on the back. I'm just gonna do this for myself. Go ahead. Okay, and you're gonna feel more motivated to next time to achieve more. And handling and setbacks and building resilience. So as you know, life comes in, kicks us and in the head or kicks us in different ways that we cannot imagine. So you have to have flexibility in your plan. If something goes south, that's why in our Zad Institute, I'm not gonna be like, hey, if you don't do this, you're out. No. We sit down, we figure out what are the things that worked for you the last 2-3 weeks and what did work, what did not work for you. We're gonna start helping you out. Okay? So you have to have a way that you can actually be like a smoke, like you can handle a lot of stuff. At the same time, maintaining your faith and maintaining your life. adjusting methods. Like you need to have a way that you can actually progress, even if it's small, but preventing imperfection. Like you can't, you don't want to be perfect. You want to be more consistent. Okay. The third thing is weekly reflection. So we have this should happen by yourself, and we have one that happens between me and you, inshallah, that I would enjoy. So weekly reflection is an update. So at the end of each week, you send me a video of updating where you at. Okay, what are the things that you want to achieve? What are the things that you're challenging with? Then you're gonna build and gratitude. So you're gonna mention to me what are the things that you're happy about. Like what are the things that you did throughout the week that you feel like you accomplished something, right? That's something that you're gonna share with me, inshallah, through the system that we have of sending assignments and feedback. But yeah, so these are one of the things that you need to do. Like and Umar ibn Khattab, he said, "Hasibu anfusakum qabla an tuhasabu." Like keep you guys accountable to each other before you guys get accountable. Like being like treat yourself like right now. Start right now counting yourself before you become the day of judgment that Allah subhanahu is gonna be like, okay, come over here. Like how was your praying? How's everything? Like start talking to yourself right now. How do I did in salah? How do I did in memorizing the Quran? How do I did in my religion? Before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking those questions. Because over here you can pivot, you can change, but over there there's only two results, either Jannah or either in a nar. Okay, so weekly reflection is it's a crucial part. So you have to have a journal that you write down everything that happened, okay, just to keep yourself more organized. Okay, continue with tafsir and studying. Like I cannot emphasize, this is the second reason that I repeat tafsir again. Tafsir is a crucial part for your journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, you have to have that, you have to deep into your understanding of the Quran by continuing regular tafsir, regular studying, like you have to go back and back and back and back. And the best way that you can do this is share wherever that you learned to a new Muslim. And when he asks back, be like, yeah, I think so. Yeah, this actually means. If you don't know, reach out to the teacher. Be like, hey, teacher, this is something that I shared. I have a question about it. I'm not gonna say no. I'll help you out. If I have the information, I'll help you out. But it starts from you first, right? It starts from you first. So you have to deep into your understanding of the Quran by regular tafsir studying. Okay, so that's why we have a connected community that we share weekly tafsir with each other. And then the last thing is sharing knowledge and building a legacy. I don't want to say legacy, but the most part is this part, sharing your knowledge. And there's a scientist, I don't know his name, and I don't know, I forgot about his name, but he said the best way to maintain or to learn something new is teaching. The reason that I'm sharing these things with you is just to keep myself reminded. There's no reason else. Like, I really want to be I want to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, me memorize the Quran. Like I want to go in front of him, I have memorized the Quran. Not just that I have a whole army behind me that I helped memorize the Quran. Okay? And the only way that I can guarantee that is if I continue teaching the Quran. Okay? So consider teaching or mentoring others. It's a crucial part to your knowledge. And all the Muslims, alhamdulillah, that joined the program, they're not just learning the Quran for themselves. They're learning for their wives. They're learning for their beloved ones. They're learning for their family. Because if you memorize the Quran, like one of the wins that you have is, first of all, your parents will get a crown that shines more better than the sun, the day of judgment. Like that's the first reward that your parents will get, right? If you're hafiz, like I'm not gonna say I'm a hafiz. Like I believe that the knowledge of the Quran never ends. Like solid, like the Quran, there's no period of time you're gonna be like, you know what, I'm on the top of the mountain. It doesn't happen like that. If you know something about the Quran, there's a lot of stuff that you don't know, right? So the Quran never ends. So if I really want to be that person that I really want to be, I'm not just gonna be that person and just be that person. I'm gonna start influencing my kids, my wife, my parents, my siblings. So the Quran, it's a barakah, it's a light that reflects on everything that you interact with. Wallahi, like anything that you interact with, the Quran will reflect to that person. Like I just want you to give an example. When was the last time that you met a person that was a hafiz? Just look at that person. Like regarding how he looks like, if he's tall, if he's short, it doesn't matter. But you will notice that that person is beloved in a way that you cannot imagine. People respect him. He's a leader. Like even if he doesn't have the skills of being a leader, but he's a leader, right? He's a person that everybody looks up to him. Like they consider him a person that's like well respected, has a high status. Do you know why? Well, it's not because of him. It's because he's memorized the Quran. Imagine having the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inside of you, reciting any time that you want, whenever you want, wherever you want, and with who you want. Right? So that's the goal. Like reflecting back your barakah to other people. So you have to consider that you have to have back of your head, like if I learn one ayah, I'm going to deliver to the other Muslims that I know. One tafsir, share with another person. Share. Whatever they're going to share. If you're going to be like, I'm not knowledgeable, it doesn't matter. You already know what are the things that will guarantee you to go to the Jannah. That's the goal. Right? If you see a person praying wrong, if you're like, hey, I feel like there's something wrong, but I think so we could change it with more, of course, more better way, like with an honorable way, with a more and more manner way, right? So yeah, so sharing your knowledge, and it's a crucial part. It's a crucial part. Like that, this is the thing that motivates me, and you have to know this. You will do more for others than you do for yourself. Like I realized I will be more hafid, I will be more motivated to be hafid and teach people, and like more hafid and being as a scholar if I do this for teaching other people. I won't learn for myself. Like I will learn for other people. Okay. So yeah, so memorizing the Quran is it's a light that will reflect back to anything that you touch, anything that you interact with. Okay, so have this in your one of your main goals that one day when you memorize the Quran, you're gonna share with other people. Final. So that was the barakah. It was the 7 steps. Remember, memorizing the Quran is a lifelong journey. It's not something that will end within 24 months from right now, right? But the thing that I can guarantee you is within a few months, I can make you go through these process and have like 0% 0.1 success. That's all I can guarantee. But it's your duty after knowing all these information to take actions. It's your duty. It's your job to do these things. Okay. So considering that it's going to be a long life and a journey, then that means the main goal is being consistent. Your main goal is to continue learn, not just to start something and be like, you know what, it will never end, so I'd rather not to start. Okay? So you have to show that you rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Approach each step with gratitude, with patience, because if you're not gratitude that you have all these things, all this, the eye, the ear, the mouth, comprehending stuff, like these are skills that you cannot learn, you cannot buy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already blessed you with these skills. Right? So you have to be gratitude that you already have these major, I call them mega skills. Like if a person doesn't know how to comprehend anything, I cannot teach that person. Can he buy that comprehension, or that can he buy that information, or can he buy that brain? Of course not. It comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you have to be like, Alhamdulillah, I already have the skills. I just have to take steps. Right? And you have to be patient. Like as-sabr, as-sabr, as-sabr. You're not going to see success within a night. Like I cannot guarantee that you'll be happy within 2 weeks from right now. But through consist, you're going to, like, patient, of course you can reach your goal, right? So keep encouraging yourself. Be like, hey, you know what? My goal is to stay consistent as much as possible, not start and finish. Continue. Okay, and confidence in your ability to succeed. Okay, you have to be like, I can do this. I cannot change your mindset. You have to approach this with a mindset that you're able to learn, regardless how old you are. Like the Prophet ﷺ, when he was a prophet, he was above 40 years old. Like, just imagine that. He was above 40 years old. Like he was 40 years old and above. Like when the Quran was revealing, he was 60 something years old. Like the Prophet died at the age of 63 years old, right? And he was a human like us. Don't ever think about the Prophet was he had a magical, what is it called, and abilities to do. No, he was a human like us, right? He used to love. He used to have kids. He used to eat like us, go to the bathroom like us. The only difference is Allah Subhanahu wa Taala used to give him wahy. That's the only difference. Okay, so memorizing the Quran, it's a noble job. It's a noble thing to every Muslim should look up to. But you should consider it as something that you can do. Okay, you are able. I'm 100%. I'm like I'm a million percent over 100% that you're gonna be able to memorize the Quran if you just take these steps and learn these skills. Okay, so inshallah ta'ala, I hope that this video makes sense, inshallah ta'ala, and I hope that you take actions, because actions are where you can start. Be like, okay, if this is working or not, right? If you're not taking actions, then how can you be 100% sure if it's not working, right? So start taking actions. Join the program. Make your goal to be consistent, not perfection. Like don't be like, within a few months I want to achieve this. Your goal is to start and to stay consistent. So jazakumullah khairan, and I will see you inshallah ta'ala inside Zad Institute. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.